There's another one you don't want to hear. Frankly, if it's alive.
1, 2, 3, set, go!
Hello and welcome to the Power Chord Hour. Welcome whether you are listening right now on the radio show on good old 107.9 WRFA or you are tuned into the podcast, whatever it is. Thank you so much for listening to tonight's episode. And I am joined, I think like appearance 5 or 6 now, but we got Joey Cobra with us once again, a local musician, local artist, all around great dude. Love talking punk rock with him, and that is exactly what we're doing on this episode. And tonight we're talking about, or whenever you're listening to this, we are talking about a record that is turning 25 later this year. It is, I can't believe it's 25 years old, but it is NOFX, So Long, and Thanks for All the Shoes, in my not-so-humble opinion, their best record. And we're going to go track by track. If you were listening on the radio show, now that we're 4 hours long and we got time for it, we're going to play each song off this record after we talk about it. So that's kind of cool. If you're listening to the podcast, that ain't happening because Fat Mike's going to sue me. Actually, that'd be a cool way to meet Fat Mike. I'll just play the whole record. Probably not. Just be a copyright claim. So probably I won't get to meet Fat Mike. So maybe I won't do that. But yeah, if you're listening to the radio show, we're going to play, as we go track by track, we will play each song, which, my God, if you've never heard this album, what is wrong with you? But hopefully this is a familiar favorite, and if not, we're going to expose you to a great, great punk rock record. Essential 90s skate punk. So yeah, that is to kind of like let you know what's going on now. We will get into it. Joey, man, how are you?
Great. That would be funny, though, if you thought that you could meet Fat Mike by getting sued by him, and then you show up in court in a NOFX shirt, ready. Wait,
I
you
have
got
Pumpkin Troublick with me.
You have a Sharpie marker ready, and then it's just lawyers. And you're like, what?
I still have to have them. So it's I brought it.
Yeah.
Will you please sign this?
Can you sign this on behalf of Fat Mike?
I've always waited. I use Paul Westerberg's voice at the beginning of every episode that here's another one you don't want to hear, for the same reason, in hopes that one day Paul Westerberg sues me for audio that I clipped off a bootleg that I got. Mm-hmm. Dreams, we got to have them.
Yep.
You got to have a reason to wake up every day.
What's a cease and desist? I don't know.
Exactly, dude. A good old C&D.
Yeah.
A little C&D for PCH.
You know who wouldn't sue you? Probably Masked Intruder. You should do that with their songs.
That is a great point.
Yeah.
They have I think I own at least one Masked Intruder shirt that is a parody of another logo. So yeah, you're right. They can't.
They'd be good sports about it.
I think they're pro stealing. So I think they'd be okay with that. So I got to ask you, before we get into this record, and I was even thinking about this earlier, we did top 5 fat records. God, it was last summer now.
Yeah.
But this record I always forget is on Epitaph. But I got to say, if this was not on Epitaph, this would probably rank as my number one. I might have to move Banner Pilot out, and this may be my number one fat release if it was released on fat.
Mm-hmm.
Where does this album, for NOFX, and maybe I've asked you before, but where does this fall? I know you like this album, but this is my favorite album, bar none, from them. Where does it fall for you?
It's in the top there. So this was this album and Pumpkin Troublick were the first 2 NOFX albums that I heard.
Nice.
And I was still so young at the time that I it's possible that I didn't even realize it was the same band. I just heard a couple of songs from one album and from the other album and stuff, and this was the album that I started really paying attention to NOFX. I was 11 when this album came out. I was the only information. There wasn't an internet that you could just look up the band. It was okay, well, your older brother's buddy let him borrow the CD with the liner notes and the lyrics and everything. And NOFX would do this thing where they wouldn't even put the right names or pictures in their liner notes for them. So
at a time when that mattered. Now it seems kind of it may not seem that way, but back in the day, very counterproductive to try to get your name out there or anything like that.
They were a complete enigma to me. I had no idea, but I was these songs are so cool. These are I mean, especially at the time, like now we live in a time where there's literally 1,000 bands just trying to emulate the sound of this album.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
yes.
So back then it was like, wow, this is like incredible. This kind of like touches on everything. Like it's fun, it's serious, it's like it's heavy, it's light. It just kind of like does all of these things and just completely blew me away when I first heard it. Now, as far as like my top NOFX albums, I think probably Pump Up the Volume's my favorite.
It's a good one.
But you know, I'd have to like really sit down and kind of think about like the qualities of each one and kind of like the way that they evolved over the years, you know. But there's you know parts of each album that are like so like perfect, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then there's certain things that you're just like, okay, you maybe skip this song or whatever, but like that's how NOFX is. It's like they're always going to like kind of push things and find different ways to approach what it is that they do. So, I mean, and you can see just by where they're at right now, you know, in 2022, you know, how far they've come. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like taking that approach. So, yeah, this is just, it's definitely one of my most cherished albums for sure. Just of albums, not just NOFX albums, but like just albums for sure.
I mean, like, as funny as it sounds, but I mean, even the Neapolitan cover, like, makes total sense because I do think it's like, and I've said before, like, I did not like Single Album, but I do, like, I know they tried to do different things on it. I think on this record they did that too, where they changed things up, but I think they did it right. Like, I feel like that mixture of things was just perfect because even the songs that are like I was listening to it, no song just stays one way. Like even when they get in like ska territory or like, you know, even like kind of reggae territory and stuff, they'll go back to that in the same song. Like they'll change the sound 2 or 3 times. And then you have to go, wow, that takes a lot of time. Like to even be able to write that way in itself is a feat.
Right.
You know,
I almost think, I was thinking about this the other day. I almost feel like if you took the ska songs off of this album or kind of, I guess even if you included a few of them, this album sounds more like a follow-up to Punkin' Drublic than Heavy Petting Zoo does.
I wanted to ask you, this goes into exactly what I wanted to talk about. I don't know where you fall on Heavy Petting Zoo, but the more I listen to it, I always forget that's the follow-up because I feel like that's a step back for them. Like I feel like this album, Punkin' Drublic, I always feel like this is the next one.
Right.
Because it just felt like more of the same. Like there's good songs on Heavy Petting Zoo, but I feel like they didn't like progress in that way. Like it's almost, some bands do that. Some bands will have that really, really big record, and then the next one, I almost feel like maybe, because even though NOFX, they didn't want, you know, to get big or whatever, still, Punkin' Drublic did pretty well for them, and there is I'm sure there's still pressure on them for that. And I feel like just on Heavy Petting Zoo, it just wasn't, it's, I don't know, like it just doesn't, and I don't know with fans, like I think people like it, so maybe it's blasphemy that I say that, but I feel like that album, I forget about it a lot, and I go, this album, they're onto something. I feel like that one was a step back after Punkin' Drublic.
I think Heavy Petting Zoo, if you were to listen to, if you had never heard NOFX before, and somebody played their albums in sequence, and you got to White Trash, and then you had them listen to Heavy Petting Zoo after that and said that this was the next album, I think that it almost makes more sense as a follow-up to White Trash than to Punkin' Drublic. I think Punkin' Drublic, they hit that perfect, if you could, you know, think of like the perfect epitaph 90s sound, like that was Punkin' Drublic right there. And then Heavy Petting Zoo, I don't know if they were like trying to go more of a certain direction that they were like into during White Trash. I don't know what the songwriting process, but I feel like there's just more like kind of weird, out of left field choices that were on that album that made like White Trash kind of like that unique early album for NOFX.
I think that's their first really good one. Like if I think of the NOFX catalog, White Trash is the first one that I like most. Like before that, there's a couple songs here and there, but really, if I'm listening to NOFX, basically start at Punk and Drublic on. But I do like I mean, Bob is a classic.
Right.
I mean, that's up there as a staple. Yeah. There's a couple songs on there that are really good. But like, the fact that Heavy Petting Zoo is the next thing in after Punk and Drublic, I'm totally with you. It would make more sense even if they just decided to do that after White Trash.
Yeah.
But after you have an album like Punk and Drublic, including like we just kind of said, I mean, defining a certain sound of what was going on at the time with Punk and Drublic and kind of doing it again, changing it again was so long. I mean, a lot of people kind of copying them again, whereas the one in the middle, it's kind of this, I don't know, it's weird. I don't know if you like old Offspring, but I always felt that way with their album after Smash. Like that album was so big, and the next one just felt like more of the same. Like it didn't seem like the album you would make after just making what was like the biggest selling indie record of all time. It just seemed weird, and NOFX kind of I put in that same category.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think Heavy Petting Zoo is like an underappreciated album, but that doesn't make me listen to it anymore.
I will say this, and this goes good with this. Punk and Drublic and So Long and Thanks for All the Shoes, I feel like the openers and the intros, I mean, are classic. NOFX.
They were like, I think this almost feels like, especially the beginning of this album, feels like a reaction to Heavy Petting Zoo not doing well and them deciding like, okay, here's what works from Punk and Drublic. So let's kind of like really give people what they want, but also like just write these really awesome, like in your face punk rock songs.
Well, let's get into track one then. It's my job to keep punk rock elite. I gotta say, and I gotta ask you, because again, Linoleum is also a classic, but I honestly, at the end of the day, I think this song might blow Linoleum out of the water. I think this is the quintessential opener for them. I still love Linoleum, but that's always the one people talk about. I feel like if you think of album openers with them, that's the one you go to. This one, I think, hits you in the face even harder just right away. Like, it just doesn't waste time. Like, this album, just no screwing around. Right away, just comes in.
Yep. Same approach, like that single guitar.
Yeah.
Everything kind of comes in and builds. The thing about this song and Linoleum is both of them have no chorus. There's no chorus in either of these songs.
I knew that Linoleum. I didn't notice that until right now. It's
there's
my job.
Harmonies in this song, and there's like the instrumental hook, and the ending isn't really. It's not really a chorus. It's just
that's a good point.
It's like both songs just kind of like keep it super simple, super stripped down, and do a lot with. The song is like 80 seconds long, so it does a lot with a little. You know what I mean?
Well, actually, that makes me want to bring something up too. While we, while I want to keep trash talking Heavy Petting Zoo, I had this written for later. But one of the things they did on this record, I think they cut out, actually, pun intended, they cut the fat off the songs. All the songs on this record are fully realized. Like, there's intros, there's sometimes solos, and right now there's not choruses, but some songs have verse, chorus, and stuff. Yet they all clock in. So, I mean, most of them are like a minute and a half, like 2 minutes long maybe. And some of them are under a minute and still are fully realized songs. And I think on, I had it written down here somewhere. I was going to bring it up, but on Heavy Petting Zoo, it's like 13 songs in 40 minutes. On this one, it's 16 songs in, I think, 33 minutes. Yeah. If I did it correctly.
Well, they started doing that thing. I don't know if you heard their live album, but they did it. I mean, they would do it at all of their live shows, and I don't know if they still do it or not. But they tried to do fit as many songs as they could in the
I've seen them do that live,
And so they're like, okay, we're gonna play 12 songs in 10 minutes, or we're gonna play 20 songs in 15 minutes, or something ridiculous. So like it's always been something that they have tried to do. Like, I don't know if they think it's funny or like creatively they're just like, no, yeah, this is fine. We don't need to like do that extra stuff. But with that said, they also followed this album up with The Decline. So,
does this come in between this and Pump Up the Volume?
Yeah.
Is that oh, wow.
Yeah, so this was 97, Decline was 99.
That's actually hilarious.
Yeah, so, but I was actually, I noted here that this song itself is a direction that they would take going into Pump Up the Volume. Like, you could take this song, if you took this song and put it on Pump Up the Volume, it would not be out of place
That's
at all.
a good point.
So this was like that direction that I am personally really glad that they took.
Yeah.
You know, post 2000, they kind of like were like, here's the thing that we do the best, and here's how we're gonna take it. And then they kind of like, after about 2004, started kind of experimenting with other directions and different things and stuff. But yeah, this song is definitely a glimpse into the future of the next few years of what NOFX is going to do.
It is. This album really is a bridge from the old, which I mean they've had different eras, because there's I can't remember his name, but their old guitar player. There's like that era, and then getting into like White Trash and Punk and Drublick. Then you have this record, and then there's kind of that NOFX after 2000. Like, I mean, they have a few different eras, and then going on even to now. But this album is that bridge, I think, from like early 90s skate punk NOFX to what would become NOFX in the new millennium.
Yep.
Which, and I didn't realize that about The Decline. I mean, I guess I knew it was from around that time. But I was wondering that too, if I'd assume they'd released like, some random 7-inches and stuff, because in between there is like a 3-year stretch, I think, in between records.
Yeah, they did like some different like 7-inches and stuff like that, but those got put together for the 45 or 46 songs.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Compilation that they made. So, like, they were still recording stuff, but not, like, proper albums.
And a lot of those are very short, short.
Yeah.
Like, even shorter than this one.
Right.
But, yeah, I mean, this record, something I noticed, like, kind of pulling this album apart for doing this, I mean, one of them is Smelly's drumming. Like, the tightness and like, it's one of those things, it's like listening to Life in general, and I go, I think of the tempos and how fast those songs, I go, how is Yuri doing that at those tempos? And this is another one that's just a blazing fast record where I go, if you really stop to think about it, like how precise his drumming is, the stuff he's doing, not even as much on this one, but even later ones, I go, I don't know if he uses a double kick pedal, but even the stuff he's doing with his foot.
No.
Oh my God.
No.
It's nuts, some of the stuff he does on this record with his, with just what he's doing with his foot. But on this song, I mean, itself, just right away, his drumming just drives this song. I mean, it's one of the highlights of it. Besides, like, that single, like you said, kind of comes in with a guitar and everything else. But I always feel like his drums, in NOFX in general, but really on this record, some of the best songs are ones where it does start off with, like, just guitar, sometimes even just a bass intro.
Yep.
And then it really kicks in when Smelly starts. He'll give a little, like, snare roll or something, and then just all hell breaks loose. That's like when the song kicks in.
The song is like, for me, if you could imagine a song playing on the stereo and a hand reaching out of the speaker and slapping 11-year-old me across the face. Like, this song just, it's still to this day is like, it's like a punch in the stomach. It's
a wall of sound in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and actually this song, my first band, we used to cover this song a lot before we like learned how to write songs and stuff. But this was definitely on the like sweet cover songs to play during a live show. So I mean, it's short, it's sweet. The harmonies that kick in are like what kind of, for me, like draw me in. Like it's aggressive, but it's, you've got these 3-part harmonies just kind of like coming in and as this like unexpected but like just really, really unique kind of blend. And that, I think, like, skate punk kind of did really well in the 90s, was like blending this aggression with melody.
This is really a handbook. You brought it up earlier, like, bands kind of copying the sound, but this album is a handbook. If someone didn't know skate punk, I mean, this is probably, I might say this would be the one to have them. Like, if you want to know what skate punk sounded like in the mid to late 90s, like, this album might be the best representation of it.
Yeah, I mean, it goes into certain directions that
it's not
that
skate
are kind
punk
of
the whole time.
Yeah, but this song and a select handful of songs from this album, absolutely, yeah.
I would even say maybe the first, like, maybe even side A, because I think side B, if you think of, I guess it depends where that'd be, but I think the second half they do get more ska. The first few songs on this record are kind of more, I feel like, straightforward, and then they get a little more playing on the upbeat and things like that.
Yeah.
But the other thing too, I mean, and we've talked about other times you've been on here, but like chord progression wise, very odd song. Kind of like it's not really it's not like your typical chord progression. It's very NOFX-y.
Yeah.
It's maybe not the one you would think about. They do. I don't know that it sounds. I don't know. Like, everything works for them, but at the same time, you go. I almost think it almost only works for them. If someone else tried pulling it off, some of those progressions or even harmonies and stuff, it might sound awful.
Yeah, and that's what NOFX does well. Is they kind of create these chord progressions that aren't just 3 chords or 4 chords. It's like, here's 10 different chords that don't repeat the same note and just kind of stream along and still sound good. But I think they kind of made it a point to, like, challenge themselves to, like, be different and write more complex songs while still being simple skate punk songs.
Yeah, what's funny about that too, and I didn't think about it until you just said it, but I think the few songs on here, not that I don't like them, but I think they're not as strong. And when I think about it, they sound more like what everyone else is doing. They kind of do have more of a just normal chord progression. It sounds more like it could be mistaken, almost like another band may have been able to write the song.
Yeah,
there's certain NOFX songs where I go, no one could write that song besides NOFX.
Yeah,
there's just no one could have pulled that off. You might be influenced by them, but you could have never written that exact song that way. Like Fat Mike needs that credit where, like, I mean, I guess all of them. I don't exactly know the writing process of the band, but I'm assuming that was him with a lot of the vocal melodies and shit like that. And just what he does with it is so, like from an outside, it's almost like the Ramones. From an outsider perspective, you go like, well, this seems like they're not good. Like, they obviously aren't talented at their instruments. But then you go, no, it's very hard what they're doing to pull that off the exact way. And Fat Mike is one of those guys where you might go, oh, that song's silly or this and that. A lot of times it happens in this record where you might go, oh, that song's kind of silly or this or that. But then you go, but to pull it off the way he does takes talent. Because if you tried to do it, like, not you, but whoever's, like, criticizing that, would probably sound cheesy as hell.
Yeah.
He pulls it off amazingly.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
They definitely have it dialed in on this album. Like,
yes.
It's everything's just, like, really tight, really cohesive, and just works really well together. It's even if the songs are goofy or whatever, it's still really clean and really, really tight playing.
Yes. Oh, there's definitely a few songs we'll be touching on later where I go, like, yeah, they're random or they're kind of like, they're silly, but they're silly in a way where I go, that's clever. Like, lyrically and stuff, I go, like, even, like, with wordplay or just the way you write, it's like, that's clever, man. Like, that takes talent.
Yep.
But on this song, I guess a few other things to touch on. Like, lyrically, I think this is another one where, like, you look at the times, and it's kind of funny because later on he'll go for Fat Mike's kind of has a few. I feel like he's fighting with a few people on this record. Like, there's a couple times. Yeah. This one in general, I feel like is kind of more towards that, like, major labels, radio, MTV, all that stuff they're trying to stay away from.
Yep.
This one I feel like is more criticism towards that and what was going on at the time. Because I also go, this album's 97. That punk explosion happened 3 years earlier, and they were still major labels trying to sign these punk bands. Still very much kind of getting into that scene. And Fat Mike and all of them were, very vocal about we don't want our stuff on MTV. We don't want radio play and stuff like that. I feel like this song is very much kind of like that, like screw that side of it.
It's almost like an abridged version of Dinosaurs Will Die.
Yeah, that's what? Really good point there. It's that because that song and that one really is another really good one on the music. Like when you look at that time too in the 2000s, as things were really becoming digital, record sales are going down. He was enjoying. I think these people he's singing about in this song are the ones a few years later. Yeah, he's singing about Dinosaurs Will Die.
Yeah.
But really good, a good cover too. I don't know if you ever heard the Silverstein cover, but they do a pretty good version of this song.
I have heard that, yeah.
I got to give them credit, pretty solid.
Yeah.
But as we move on, anything else for this song?
I don't think so.
Going back to, this one kind of reminds me, track 2, Kids of the K-Hole. I don't know why I read it like that, but very professional. But the thing about this that I think just like the 1-2 punch of Punk and Drublick, they hit you again on this one with the first 2 songs because it goes right in, like right away with that like bass intro, which I love. That it's kind of simple, but it works so well with how It's My Job to Keep Punk Rock Elite ends.
Yeah.
Right away.
And not only does it pick up, but musically it fits.
Yes.
It's almost like and not so much with the entire record, because there are short little pauses and stuff like that, but the way that this album kind of starts is like okay, well this is all meant to be played as like one cohesive,
this is an idea kind of.
Yeah, like and these are streamed together almost like it's one song, and that's, I feel like, what's going to take them in the direction of writing an 18-minute song next.
That's
They're
a good
point. Yeah, like if we can keep doing this and have these complex parts and then like go straight into the next part, that's just one long song. That's not an EP or an album anymore. Like we can just make it one song. If all the lyrics are about the same theme, that's a song. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be like 6 separate songs or 5 separate songs or whatever. Like it can kind of like, go in this one cohesive direction. So I think that this is another little like element of, okay, here's what's to come. But I was trying to describe what this bass part is, and all I could come up with is it's the hardest single note bass solo.
Yeah, because he's not doing anything crazy, but it like
no, but
hits
he's like doing this strumming that's not like straight strumming, and it's not just like speed picking. It's like got this staccato to it,
very staccato.
but still just one note, and then it does this little line, and then goes back to the same note. And then does like a little line when the guitars and the drums come in and stuff, and then and it keeps that pluckiness and that bounciness throughout the song. Yes. If you hear it like between like verses and between lines and stuff, there are these little like bass runs that you can hear that like. He's playing multiple notes, but he's still doing that like that speed kind of picking, that staccato picking that he's like, one of the best, punk bass players at doing that specific like picking kind of style.
Oh, yeah. He's very good with the right hand. Like, he's not just like his right hand is very good because you can tell like when he wants to do something different, he's not just like down picking the whole time. Like every song. Yep. He'll change things up, and you can hear it because if he did that, if you just tried playing that just up and down like that, just straight 8ths or even 16ths, it wouldn't sound as good.
No.
That single note would just sound so bad. It's like that would not sound very good.
So it's like almost this song's equivalent to It's My Job to Keep Punk Rock Elite's like single guitar intro. You know what I mean? It's just, here's this instrument that when you're at the live show, just this instrument playing this part is going to get you so jazzed up to like jump into the circle pit. You know what I mean? Like as soon as everything hits, like everybody's going to go crazy. Yeah. So like, it's just a super effective intro to a song, even though it's just one note. You know what I mean? Like, it's still, and it's one of their best songs, arguably.
This is like it's such a good song, and it's another one that's just kind of short and sweet, but they fit a lot in a short amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
And because like it's another one, they do it, I would almost say nearly every song, not every one, but nearly every song on this record, the intro into the verse just hits you in the face.
Yep.
Like those transitions into them are so good, like in a way that I think some of their best, like it stands out. It's something that pops out to me when I'm listening. I go, that in between, just that intro into verse is so flawless in so many of them.
Yeah.
And they change a lot. Like the intro to this song into what it goes into is different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it all fits so well. And there's something about this song I think what makes it so good is I don't even know how it sounds cheesy as hell, but there's like a vibe to this song. There's something about it that like there's an uneasiness. You know what's funny? I think part of it is that bass intro, because it's like Green Day's Panic song. It has an intro like that where it's just kind of I think Mike's playing maybe one note, but he's doing a weird rhythm. And it reminds me of that because there's this. I think the bass is why it gives that feeling, because there's just this uneasiness to that.
Mm-hmm.
I think also musically from your ear, you want it to resolve or go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And it's not.
Yeah.
He's not, like you said, like he'll do a little run here and there, but in that intro, it just kind of doesn't, like there, it just keeps ringing out. And I think it gives something to that song.
Yeah. It just kind of lets it build into this like crescendo, and the song kind of like spills out from that.
Yes.
You know, and it has that that tempo and that momentum that kind of just pushes it through, and then you add all of the instruments, and you add all of like the harmonies and everything, and it's just like
great
a
harmonies
train,
too on this one.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I know it's a given throughout the album, but like just like on It's My Job to Keep Punk Rock Elite, the harmonies and backing vocals on this are one that stand out. They're really they help make the song, like in a way where you go, if you took them out, it'd be missing. Like the song wouldn't be as good.
Yeah. And I think with this song too, I think what makes it such a classic NOFX song is the lyrics are they're more like neutral. They're like more they're kind of more abstract and poetic. It's like poetry as opposed to like, here's this person I'm mad at. You know what I mean? Like it's just like it's so much more poetic than murder the government. You know what I mean?
You don't think that's pure poetry?
Yeah. Like this is just, I think that's what Heavy Petting Zoo did really well, was working on the craft of lyrics and writing these songs that are like about doing drugs and stuff like that, but you get into these things that like even if you just read the lyrics kind of take you on a journey that I think people don't really realize NOFX does really well or did really well.
It's a learning experience too, because I know what a K-hole was until I heard
right.
this song, and then it is a learning experience too. You learn.
Imagine being 11 years old and trying to like know anything about what these people are talking about.
There's a few NOFX songs where you're either you know what it means or you're gonna be real confused. Until later on.
And he definitely used a lot of like really big words, but not only that, but
took a page from Greg Graffin.
Yeah. And with those harmonies, exactly, like that's exactly what those are.
Territory.
And you'll notice that after they started working with Bad Religion in the late 80s, all of a sudden, like they had like these like choir harmonies and stuff in their songs. But
they started getting better.
Yeah,
really. Yeah. To be honest.
But not only did he use very large words in a lot of these albums, but he also doesn't pronounce the words like correctly, or he puts the wrong
to make it rhyme, right? It's kind of fit,
as
fit
Fat Mike says, he puts the wrong emphasis on the wrong syllable. So
good
like
songwriters do it though, because you sacrifice that because that's what works in the song.
And I didn't notice that I did it until after hearing him talk about himself doing it and realizing that became an influence on me that I would put into some of my songs that I didn't even know. Like, I didn't really realize that I was doing that. But it's something that, like, he kind of, like, perfected in the 90s, where he would use these bigger words and just kind of, like, pronounce things really strangely and made it almost impossible to learn the actual lyrics to the song. Because you're like, I'm not sure what he's singing there, but it's what I'm singing sounds kind of like that, which is not a word, but it's kind of close. So
it's that melody though too, and it kind of goes with later on with the French cover, where you go, it very much is all melody, because I don't know if Fat Mike knows what the hell he's singing when he's singing in French, but as a musician, he does know vocal melody. And if you can get that down, you know what I mean? Like, then you just have to do muscle memory of having, you kind of remember the words, but, like, if you remember that vocal melody, I think you're jumping off that so much. And I think it's kind of the same with this, where, it's not about being clear, sounding clear in your voice, or being so you can hear every lyric crystal clear. It's more about it fitting the song, you know? If you tried to enunciate or pronounce everything the way that it should be, it wouldn't work.
Yep.
And I can't remember off the top of my head what it is, but even when you're talking about that, there's a Banner Pilot song that jumps out to me where he keeps saying the word, he butchers it so bad, but and it always is what I think about, because if he didn't, it wouldn't work.
Right.
If he said it the way you know that it's supposed to be said, it just wouldn't work.
Yep.
So I'm with that. I don't care about being grammatically correct or trying. It's like, that's not how a good song, like, that's not how it gets written.
Just make it work, yeah.
Yeah, you just got to make it work.
I mean, even like back in, like, Shakespeare times, they used to just, like, make up a word. You know what I mean? They're like, I don't have a word that rhymes here, so I'm just gonna, like, I'm gonna take a real word that exists and just, like, turn it into a weird version.
There's no way Fat Mike hasn't made up a word just to fit in a song.
No, yeah, he definitely
Fat Mike
makes
is definitely
up words all the time.
The Shakespeare of 90s skate punk is what you're saying. I'm gonna say what you're saying for
what
you.
You're saying.
What you're saying,
what
Joey.
You're trying to say is.
Yeah, here, let me tell you what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
But he's very good at that. Again, like, I mean, something you've brought up, but what I love about, like, my favorite records, somebody who can write serious songs and also be on the same album. The whole thing's not just depressing and sad. The whole thing's not just one big joke. They can do both.
Yep.
And he does. He can use big words. He can make you think. And then he can also write a song like the next one where it's just, what he's singing. Like, it's just there's no metaphor. There's nothing. It's just like, hey, this is it.
Yep.
But to be able to do that and also go back and forth, because again, you have to sequence those correctly. You have to be able to do that. And that's not as easy as it may sound. So to be able to jump back and forth like they do on this record with some songs that are very heavy and then ones that are not very heavy, I think they do that a lot better than, like, even older albums. Because I think a lot of times on some of the older stuff, like, I don't know. I don't, like, they're serious songs, but I think even in more serious songs, they would still have to be kind of joking.
Yeah.
Whereas on this one, and not a lot of them, but there's like 2 or 3 songs where I go, like, that's just, I mean, if you look at the lyrics and stuff, it's like, it's just a sad, like, just straight through. And some of the best songs on the record. But I think this is the beginning of them, like, being able to do that.
Yeah.
I think Pump Up the Volume really is another one, talking about the bridge between, where they could do that on there too. I think they were very good at, like, there's joke songs, there's more serious
heavy songs. Yeah.
Yeah, like, you can go back and forth.
Yeah.
Something I did, like, I was thinking about it too, because I think this is, like, later NOFX, I feel like there's a lot of albums where, like, Fat Mike's, like, writing songs about drugs and stuff, like, a lot. I feel like it starts on this record. There is on older ones, but I think this is where, which I feel like he always says, because you got to think, I think he's about 30 when they wrote this. And I think he's always said that's when he started, like, using, like, recreationally abusing drugs and stuff.
Yep.
So I think this is the beginning of it, because you see it lyrically. Look at Pump Up the Volume. A whole lot more on that record.
Yep.
I think they get a lot more, like, to where, he's singing about, like, that. Like, I think earlier ones, he sings more about drinking. But, it's just kind of a observation on this one. I think with Kids in the K-Hole and then I can't think of it. The second to last song is, I mean, that's more about sobriety, but
Right.
talking about why it's not fun to be
Yeah.
sober.
Yep.
But yeah, like that was something I kind of noticed because, like, I don't know, I listen to these albums differently when I know we're doing these, and you know what I mean, like the
Yeah,
things
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
think about normally.
Yep.
There's a few songs on here where I'm an idiot for not even realizing what they're about until I started like
Yeah.
having to think about it. I go, wait a second, I didn't realize
Yep.
it was like that.
Yep.
But do we have anything else for Kids in the K-Hole?
I don't think so.
Anything else for that?
Good
Well,
song.
let's get into Speaking of Shakespeare. Track
Yeah.
3, Murder the Government. I mean, this song is, I gotta say, we were talking about them doing like fast songs, trying to fit a bunch in live. This one I've heard them do live, I think almost every time I've seen them. And
Yeah.
it's a fun one live.
It's definitely one of their live staple
It's a
songs.
live staple, 100%.
The only reason that I think that it stayed in their set list was because he constantly like updated the lyrics to like whoever like the current president
Yeah.
was, and so it gained a lot of like road miles that way because I don't actually even really like this song. Like this is I used to. I mean, like, you know, when you first hear albums that like really have an impact on your life, it's like you appreciate all of the songs, but then when certain songs get like overplayed, then it's like, I guess I don't really care that much anymore.
There's albums I love where I'll skip certain
Yeah.
songs. Like if I've heard them too much, like I'll be that guy. There's even like hits on records where I go, I've heard that too many times. I love this record, but I've heard that song too many times.
I'm not going to be driving in my car with my 18-month-old daughter in the back seat and the windows down, like saying "murder the government,"
And
like,
then we'll do it again. Yeah.
in complete seriousness, no irony, you know, to be had. It's just not something that I really like need to like be listening to right now.
That's understandable.
You know what I mean?
NOFX, I feel like they're a band, which I mean, skate punk bands in general have this, where I think the things that appeal to a 16-year-old, because opening a song, I want to see the Constitution burn. If you're 16, that's gonna get you. Like that's
badass.
Gonna get you. Yeah. Like, but obviously, as you get older, it's like the songs. Like I think NOFX as a whole. And it's kind of, I mean, I know you're less of a Blink fan, but even I know as I get older, there's Blink-182 songs that when you're a teenager, you really like, and as you get older, they're not the songs you gravitate towards. You start liking, like, I've talked about this with other people on here. When you're a teenager, you like the Tom DeLonge songs. When you start approaching 30, you get into the Mark Hoppus shit. Which sounds so mature as I'm comparing this to Blink-182, but like it's just kind of the same with NOFX, where the songs that probably originally got you into them, or even the reasons that get you into them. Because, I mean, even just things they do, it's like you get, you know, it's like you may get into Bad Religion because you're 16, you like the Crossbuster design.
Yep.
But then it's like, as you get older, you like it because, like, the intelligent songs and, like, it's less of trying to be a try-hard or, like, you know, this is edgy. It's more of, oh, no, I like this side. This is what's aged well.
Yeah.
So I do see what you're saying with
However,
the song.
there's a ska version of this that I like better. Yeah. I don't remember what it's on, but there's a ska version. I think there was it was something that the tape version had like one version and the CD version had the other version on it, or like the CD version had one and the record version had the other version.
That was the thing in the 90s. They definitely did that, like the LP version and stuff like that.
So there was one that had a ska version, and you can hear it. You can look it up. I don't know where you can find it, but just look up "Murder the Government" ska version, and you can. I think it's the better version. To me,
this song, to be honest, musically, I mean, I would like to hear it ska, because musically, if you change the lyrics, this is just a Misfits song, in my opinion.
Yeah,
it sounds like the Misfits musically.
And I should say it's the intro is ska, because once the snare hits or the hi-hat hits and he goes into the "I want to tar and lynch the KKK," that's all the same.
That's the same part.
But the intro part is ska, which I think almost fits the album better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there's these elements kind of like throughout the album of ska, so you might as well kind of like sprinkle it in this like tongue-in-cheek song. Like it kind of I don't know, I think it makes it fit even better. Like the lyrics juxtaposed to like this bouncy kind of like ska part.
Yeah,
Make it kind of more hilarious.
I would like to hear the rest. Like I'm until you said that, I was thinking about like the rest of the song just kind of slowed down, just like upstrokes and stuff, just so like you could really, just like so you could really hear those lyrics. Like that's what I was imagining. I still got to hear this, so I'd like to hear that intro.
Yeah,
but like a slowed down version of this, I would definitely. I would like to hear the whole thing kind of slowed down.
Somebody should do like a really like sincere like acoustic version of this, but like with like cello and violins and like a really, you know, those just really like sincere, like heartbreaking sounding like vocalists.
You know what's ironic about that? I even think Me First and the Gimme Gimmes could do a good slow down like lounge version or something of this.
Yeah, they could.
I think even they could, which actually it doesn't count because I don't think Mike's even in that anymore. I don't think he plays with them, so it wouldn't be a.
I think that he plays on their like studio albums.
Oh, okay, just not live.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking about it. And I'm like, you know who could do that?
Yeah.
The Gimmes.
Yep. Exactly.
But I mean, this is though. I will say lyrically, the thing I will give Fat Mike about it is like he's obviously like having fun and joking, but at the same time, I think means a lot of it. So it's like this real. Like again, like if you were, you know, as much as it's like, okay, there's not a whole lot here, still, if just a 16-year-old tried to write this song, it wouldn't come out as good as this did. So it's like I still got to give him this and the next song. Yeah, I actually think, like, again, you kind of go, I think some people might go, they're throwaway tracks or, you know, they're just whatever. But I'm like, I don't know. They're kind of clever. Yeah. I think the next one a little more than this, I think lyrically. Right. But just maybe more left field, maybe more random.
Yep.
But I think this song, I think it's fun. But again, I get what you're saying. It's not like the reason I love this record. I don't know that it's the number one song on it. Yeah. But it is there. It exists. It is track number 3.
Yeah. If you see them live, they're probably gonna play it.
More than likely. I have heard which there's a few songs on here I go, I'd love to hear them play live, and I don't think they do much. But then there's a couple where I've never seen them not play them.
Right.
There are some songs on this that are just like, if you go see NOFX, they're gonna play those songs.
Yes.
Like there's no way they're even in 2022, because I was looking up live videos, some of these, and they were playing a lot of these songs still even this year. I guess I didn't even realize they were playing recently, but they were like, I think this year and like late last year, and they were playing a lot of these still. Some I didn't even expect them to play.
Right.
But anything else for this, or shall we move on to track 3?
Yeah, let's move on.
All right. I mean, one of the most...
Track 4.
Track 4, my bad. This song, I don't know, it's a mix-up between this and, again, later the French cover of just so left field, but Monosyllabic Girl. Another one, I did know what it meant, but at first I didn't know what he was singing. And I had to go look it up later, and then I'm like, oh, wait a second, that is what he's saying. I'm like, oh, okay, that's what that song's about.
Yeah, because he kind of says the word very quickly, you know.
He does.
I don't know. Like this is another one where when I was younger, this was like one of the coolest songs, and now it's just kind of.
I will say this: it's well structured. Like I was saying about them cutting out the fattest songs. This is like a fully realized song in under a minute.
Now we're on track 4. There's still not been a single guitar solo.
Oh my God!
No guitar solos. That. I don't know if you've noticed
funny
that.
Though. On this one, and I counted as one. I'll ask you, but I would say the end is a bass solo. There is a bass solo at the very end. It is just Mike singing, and that bass is like the end of the song. And I always go, I count that as a bass solo.
While he's singing?
It's like a measure. Yeah, it's at the very end. It cuts out, yeah. You know, at the very last one. I count that as one, but he does it for like a measure or two. It's not very long.
Yeah. I think, and that's the thing is what happens in this album is there's not really solos. There's like lead parts and like lead hooks. And like little kind of like riff things.
There's things that jump out of you. Like if you're listening, like it is an album actually that I think listening on good speakers or headphones, because little things will jump out that you didn't notice. Like in a chorus, you'll hear this little riff, and again, like just one measure, just come in real quick, like like just real riffage, but for like 3 seconds.
Yeah.
And this one, you don't have that, but I would say in under a minute you get an intro, 2 verses. This one does have a chorus, right? Yeah, this one does have a chorus actually for being under a minute. And I mean, like, I don't know, lyrically not a lot happening, but I also go, it kind of goes back to Murder the Government, where it's a ridiculous song, but at the same time I go, if you're committing to the bit, and he does it very well. Like, the song is actually clever in the way where I go, I don't think I could write this song.
Well, and it's catchy as hell.
It's
too.
very catchy.
You know what I mean?
Musically, you also gotta say that if you change the lyrics, this, I think people would like. You may like this song if the lyrics are different, because musically, it's a great NOFX song.
Yeah, and just between the chord progression and the vocals and stuff, like, it's gonna get stuck in your head.
Oh, absolutely.
I think that I don't know. I think that this is just one of those ones that they were like, yep, here's the joke song. It's super catchy, so let's just keep it on the album there.
I wonder with this too, something I think about with both this and Murder the Government, really, I wonder if they had music for, like, which came first, because I really think that this was like a short song under a minute, and in my head, this is me assuming, the song was written, it was under a minute, and this was like the first thing he thought of to write, like, lyrically.
I think
the lyrics came later. I think he may have even had a melody in mind. I think the lyrics were like the last thing.
Yeah, he probably had the song, but then I also think that he probably had, I think that what came first was the title of the song.
That's a good, I didn't even think about that. I think
you wrote the title of the song and was like, all right, here's what this song is about. This is what this is going to be.
Murder the Government might be the same.
Also that, yeah.
That, because, you know what, that does happen. I don't know if it does for you, but sometimes I'll get a song till it pops in my head before there's a song.
Yeah.
And I have written things off of that, just off of what the thing.
Just a single theme.
Yeah.
That's all you need.
And you know what? I never thought of that part. I think you're absolutely right. I don't think music or lyrics did come first. I think the title did.
Yeah.
Because it's just such a random thing to write a song. Like even Murder the Government, I'm like, okay, discontent with the government and politics and stuff. With this one, I don't know where that comes from. I don't know where the idea for this song is.
Yep.
Funny too, monosyllabic and also under a minute. Not 2 minutes. It is 1 minute long. But I mean, and also not a bad transition from Murder the Government to Monosyllabic Girl. Like, musically, they do work. Like whatever your opinion on the songs themselves are, because they are. I don't know that anybody would put these in like the top. Like, we're talking top 3 songs on this record. I might have to question someone who has either of these last. If you have track 3 or 4 in your top 3, I mean, I might have some questions for you.
Right.
Including if you're over the age of 16.
Yeah.
I got some questions for you, buddy.
There's just a lot more to kind of choose from now, I guess, you know.
It's a 16-track album. There's more songs a coming.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But shall we move on to the next, or do you want to talk about this one for another?
No.
Should we just keep talking about this? Okay, now I think we're getting into some good I mean, I like those songs what they're worth, but I think track 5 we're getting back to the good stuff. Like track 1 and 2 with 180 Degrees. This is a great example of them being able to jump from one sound to another in a song. I mean, this thing starts hardcore. It is like a hardcore punk song and then jumps to ska like flawlessly. Like the way they do it at like a drop of a hat, like seamlessly. It's just like I love it. I think it's something you keep seeing in the album, but I think this is really maybe the first one that really has it on this, where it goes back and forth from like ska to hardcore, just straight up punk.
I think musically, this is like one of the best NOFX songs.
I'd have to agree with that.
I also think that it's kind of funny that NOFX, they did ska like kind of tongue in cheek. Like,
I wanted to bring that up. For as much ska is on this album, all the time, I've always thought of it as almost ironic on this record. And it's weird because they do it so much. You go, is it a joke or is it? Like, you know what I mean? Like, is it or is it not a joke?
At this point, they had kind of like sprinkled in some ska into songs like basically since like 91, I think.
Well, I even think of Bob. I go, there's that little part where they do it. Yeah. I think that's one where I go, I think that was almost like NOFX thinks things like that are funny. Yeah. I could see them thinking it was funny to throw that in.
Basically, like when Hefe joined the band, they kind of like started
going into it more.
They were like, oh, we can have like the trumpet in this song. Like, no punk band's doing that, you know.
Because
So
I do, and I don't want to jump ahead, but like I still think like All Out of Angst. I'm always like I think it's the joke there is that it's a ska song.
Yeah.
Like I do think that's one where, because you think 97, this is third wave ska is real big right now.
Yep.
It's kind of having its moment in the sun, so it's like I feel like they are kind of taking the piss out of some of what's
like,
going on there.
It's like the song Anarchy Camp. You know what I mean? Like it's the joke is that the song is in this style and it's about these other things.
Yeah.
But I think that it's funny that they did it in this tongue-in-cheek manner, but also potentially did it better than a lot of bands, of actual ska bands that were doing it.
There's so many ska bands that came out during this era where their albums now, unless you have some kind of nostalgic connection to them, you're not going to get into. This record you can play, I think, current day, and you get a kid who likes ska punk. Like this is an album that I do think there's certain albums where you had to be there to get into it. I think this is one that you could still, if a kid was like 16 getting into skateboarding and punk rock, this is still a record you could play to them and it translates.
Yeah, they were like, what if a band sounded like Goldfinger but better?
That's a good. Dude,
play them this
is
song.
aged better in my opinion than a lot of Goldfinger.
Yeah,
like so
new Goldfinger.
That's a good. No, dude, the last Goldfinger album beats this one.
Listen, I've got nothing against them and John and what they do, but this is.
Those were, I think, them, you know, and I like all those bands too, but I do. I think Fat Mike probably didn't particularly love the Real Big Fishes and the Goldfingers of the world. Maybe not hated them, but I mean, he's also vocal about things. He'll let you know if he doesn't like you or your music.
I don't know if you ever heard like that bootlegged live version of the song "We Don't Play Ska Anymore."
No.
That NOFX used to. They would like play it after. I think it was after this album came out. Then they started doing like Warped Tour, and they weren't doing any of the ska songs from this album, and they wrote a song called "We Don't Play Ska Anymore," and it's just basically just them repeating like "We don't play ska anymore" and stuff.
Is it fast or is it in
It's just kind of like a mid-tempo song.
That'd be funny if it was ska. It was the most ska song they ever did.
Yeah, that's another like behind the scenes like bonus track for you to look up.
There's a lot of them with NOFX because they did just they still do it, all those random 7-inches. Like they're a band who it's hard to compile everything. Like when you say there's a ska, I would believe you for any of them. If you told me there's a ska version of like every song they ever did, I'd go probably.
Yep.
There's probably a polka version. Like there's more than likely it exists on some 7-inch somewhere.
Yeah.
But like I think it is a weird thing, and I'm happy you brought it up because ska on this record and just in general them is always so funny to me because it's like, I mean, it even goes with the trumpet because in a way, sometimes I almost feel like they're being funny with the trumpet, but El Jefe is too good of a trumpet player and it's in these songs too much to be like, is it a joke? You know what I mean? Like if you're leaning into the joke, it's become half your record.
Yeah.
You know, there's bands, I don't know if you ever heard of I Hate Myself, but there's this kind of obscure like 90s screamo band. But people always say, like the rumor is, it was a parody of what was going on at the time. I mean, they were called I Hate Myself. That was the name of the band. They were making fun of 90s emo and screamo. But at the same time, it stands to this day, and I don't like a lot of that stuff, but they're still really good. So it's this thing where if they're a parody, they aged better than the things they were parodying, and people love them more than most of the things they were parodying.
I think that I don't think that it was maybe necessarily supposed to be a parody or make fun of anything, but I think that they maybe approached it in the same vein that like they approached the different kind of songs on Heavy Petting Zoo. Like they did it with complete sincerity, and they did it to the best of their ability, but it also happens to kind of come off as like this tongue-in-cheek kind of thing.
There's nothing sacred with them either, so I think they can do that. Where like we can be sincere because, again, we don't take anything seriously, so it's not weird for it. Like we'll get into ska and we might still make fun of it, but we can do it because we're good musicians or we know how to write a song. So it's like, I guess you can't turn that part off if you're talented too.
Right.
It's just going to come out good. Because even in this song, like some of those bass lines that Mike is playing while he's singing, because he's doing a lot of those moving, like he plays bass like you would in a ska band. Like a lot of times those moving bass lines.
However, if you see them live,
does he not? Is he playing?
Fat
like,
Mike doesn't sing the ska songs.
Oh,
like
good point.
Hefe will sing the ska songs, or
I never thought
if
of
he's
that.
singing, he's not playing those bass parts.
Okay,
so I
then-
think that this is not a song that they could play live.
Are you telling me? Because I was wondering this.
This would be a
earlier.
Hefe song if you saw them live.
Well-
I would be willing to bet.
I'm assuming too. Recording this was not recorded live in studio. He probably did the bass and vocals separately. I never thought of that with El Jefe, but you're right. Because now that I think about it, and I think of any videos I've seen or even live, it is El Jefe singing them, because there's some songs when they do get into ska where the bass lines he's playing while singing, and including some of the vocal melodies he's doing because he's still being very melodic. Because now he's being like monotone.
Right.
He's doing a lot on bass and vocals. That you've ruined the magic, but I'm not too surprised.
Yeah.
I can't say I'm too surprised.
I think when it comes to like ska or reggae bass and singing, it's so like it's so rhythmically involved.
It's a hard
that
thing to
it's
do.
a really hard it's a really hard thing to like separate what your voice is doing with what your hands, the rhythm that your hands are going.
You're
to.
moving around a lot too. You're not
Yep.
you're not doing like straight pop punk where you're playing the root notes. You're just playing eighth notes and stuff. Like you're moving around. You're like playing. You're not playing chords. You're arpeggiating them and stuff. That's a big thing in like ska bass going.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm doing this.
Yeah.
For people.
Doing the hand bass motion.
I'm going from the root third to the fifth.
Yeah. But
I think
it's what
so.
it is. It's not that's the hard part, because you can do that and sing.
That's true.
But it's when you add that little hiccup, that little like dunk, ba-dunk,
Little
dunk,
accents and shit like that.
That part totally takes away like what your voice is trying to do, like because you're so focused on like getting that like tagged up with the drum or the percussion or whatever, that like it's takes a very talented bass player to be able to like separate those two things.
Roger from Less Than Jake, I always give credit because
he's an animal.
Like that is a guy who can replicate that live. Like
Yup.
seeing them live, like that dude can still, which is insane. I not to get sidetracked. I saw my Facebook memories today that 6 years ago of the day I was recording this, I saw them play Losing Streak and Hello Rockview front to back up in Pittsburgh. That was nuts.
I saw them play both of those albums also.
Oh, did you see him on the right? I think we talked about this.
Yes.
The spinning wheel one,
Yes.
the
Yeah.
Price is Right one.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I just thought too for dudes. I mean, that's like 30 plus songs, and they did an encore. I think insane.
Yeah.
That's just insane. I give them credit, and yeah, Roger, just that because I mean that's who I think of honestly, because it's not totally left field talking about Less Than Jake there, because that's kind of who I jump to when I think of who he's trying to emulate. Scott, not just him, but like he's trying to play like a Roger or something. When you're thinking of ska bass of that time, you know, people who kind of play like that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. But Less Than Jake, that's the thing, is like they're still one of the best bands live.
Yes.
I mean, it's crazy.
And if we're talking about ska too, aging well, they're like there's so many bands, they're like people who were their contemporaries or out when they were, who did not age well. Like the music hasn't aged well. Again, it goes in that category of if you were there from a nostalgic standpoint, you probably still like it, but in 2022, you're not going to randomly find it and fall in love with it.
Right.
Less Than Jake is one of those exceptions where it's like, oh yeah, like it's like with this record. If you're getting into music, I'm sure younger kids, you know, if you're into a certain kind of music, you'd still get into like Rockview or Losing, like or Anthem, like, you know, whatever you like.
And if you haven't heard his podcast, Chris DeMakes a Podcast, is incredible from a songwriting standpoint. He sits down with like different musicians and basically breaks down a single song, sits and talks with them for 40 minutes to an hour, and breaks down one single song. And like he actually goes like home, like he at home like will sit down with a guitar and like learn that song like break down like the chorus and different like note choices in the verse or the bridge or whatever, and like the dude like totally understands like songwriting, front to back, but the way that he is able to like break down these songs in a way that you never would have like thought of that song, you know what I mean? It's just a super entertaining listen. So definitely check his podcast out.
He does have a good. Actually, I think he had Fat Mike on once, didn't he? I think Fat Mike was on.
He did. They talked about the new Linoleum. Song.
Oh God.
Yeah.
No thanks.
So it was more
I'll be
of like
skipping that one.
Yeah.
No thanks.
It was more of like promo for the new
I thought it was
album.
going to be like Eat the Meek or something. I haven't heard that episode. I was assuming it was like a song people would want to hear them talk about.
It was
not a promotion for their terrible.
Linoleum.
This is all I'm going to say about, because we'll get back to this, but for Fat Mike not liking to do press, I think that's how he knew the new NOFX album was so bad. He did a lot of press for it, which is something Fat Mike historically doesn't do.
Yeah.
He was on a lot of podcasts for that album.
Well, I mean,
think
it was a
we know why
pandemic,
now.
He was probably bored.
I guess if he was bored, he should have tried writing better. I do not like that album. But anyway,
Yeah. Okay.
we'll get back to an album that I do love. This one.
There we go.
And something I was thinking about as we were talking about Krista Makes and Less Than Jake. Something I like about the ska songs on this, and they don't do it so much in the ska parts, but in the same songs, you'll get riffs and stuff, which also adds to it because traditionally in a lot of those third wave ska bands, the guitar is like the least interesting part.
Yeah.
A lot of them, even like, and I'm not to trash talk Chris, but like I think in Less Than Jake, I don't think he gets to show off what he can probably do on guitar.
Yeah.
He just can in that music. Like
Well,
a lot of times,
especially when you're the only guitarist,
you're like
too.
guitar, and then think of the bass lines that are going.
Yep.
The way he's playing bass would sound like from a musical standpoint, probably wouldn't sound good if he was riffing while also Roger's basically riffing.
Right.
It wouldn't make sense. You basically need the bass to play the lead and the one guitar to basically play a rhythm.
Yep.
You're almost changing
Yeah.
the roles in the band.
Yeah.
You know?
I think that's what works about them, too, is
it
because
does.
it's like they're so multifaceted and have, the different vocalists, the different approach to like guitar and bass and everything. It's just what works.
But that's what I think is interesting with NOFX also, like the way they tackle ska, because like again, I think they riff a little more in the parts where they go back to like the faster punk stuff. But still, even in this song, there's some good riffs, and it's they'll go from ska to like those riffs in a way that a ska band I don't think could pull off. It's going back to NOFX being able to pull off ska, but ska bands not really being able to pull off NOFX.
You know what else is a good combo? When metal bands play punk, they play it way better than punk bands play punk. Have you ever heard the band Heart Sounds?
No.
They're from San Francisco.
I don't even heard of them before.
They were in this hardcore band called, I want to say it's Light This City or something like that. Like super screamy kind of hardcore kind of stuff, and started Heart Sounds, and like basically the singer, it's like two singers, a guy and girl, and they sat down and like basically wrote a punk record and like started this band, and like totally blew me away.
Really?
And like when you can tell when like fans of like metal and hardcore like play punk, because it's like so much more precise and
strung out
like
comes to mind.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely check them out. But though it's got like the co-vocals and stuff, and
you kind of have it in this because like I feel like Eric Melvin even in his, I feel like
he starts coming in there.
Like some of his comes from that. I mean I think he listens to metal a little. I mean if I'm not mistaken, I think him and I don't know until their old guitarist definitely did. The one before him was a metal. He was a metalhead.
Well, they kind of like they had a lot of like metal influences, but they kind of like shook them off by like 1990. They kind of like,
it's around that Bad Religion time. They start getting more. Yeah. They start going for the more which was a good move.
Yeah.
But yeah, there is, again, it is crazy. Which not really because they've been around so long, but there are so many eras of the band.
Yep.
Like, because they're not the band that I go there for. Like, some bands, their first record kind of defines them. NOFX is the furthest away from that for me. They don't
took them a while.
They don't get good for almost like 6. I think they were a band for like I mean, they started what, like mid-80s? They have been around longer than I think, because I associate them with the 90s.
Yeah.
Truth be told, they're around most of the 80s.
I want to say like their official starting date was like 83.
Yeah, that's almost the entirety of the 80s.
Yeah.
So you got to think, that's almost a decade until they got really like.
But I mean, when you start, like, say they started when they were like, I don't know, 15 or
they were young,
or 14 or something like that. Yeah, it's gonna take you 5 years just to learn how to play your instrument. You know what I mean? Good enough to like then start writing good songs. You know.
Thank God they didn't get big off that old stuff though, where like you'd be.
I don't see how they could have.
No, but still, there are some bands that get big off their first album or two where, like, later on, it's just like, dude, like, we were like I don't want to play this. Like, we were like teenagers. I can't. Like, they look at it from an artistic standpoint, they look at it differently.
Yeah.
But you are right. I don't know how they would have. I guess that's a good.
I don't know if that's possible.
I guess like closing. Anything else on this one? Oh, I will say, I don't know if they play this live. I don't think I've ever, when I've seen them live, I've never seen it play it live. But I feel like this would be a staple. This seems like a fun one to hear live.
Yeah, I don't think so.
They don't? No? You've seen them, I think, more than I have.
I've seen them a lot, and from my memory, I don't think I've ever seen them play it once.
This would be a fun live song.
I think it's because...
Oh, the ska thing.
You can't sing it. Yeah.
I didn't think about that. How did I forget? We were just talking about that. He can't play these songs.
Yep. I don't know. I mean, that's my guess. I don't know how true it is or not, but, you know.
I did write, too, just a couple more things on this song. And in general, I think sonically, but it does on this song, I really hear it, like... I think Ryan Green just knew how to record this band. And he really, like, if you go look in liner notes, that dude produced and engineered, like, a huge chunk of, like, skate punk, basically. Fat and Epitaph, like, if you put out an album on Fat Records, Epitaph in the 90s, there's, like, a really good chance Ryan Green worked on it.
Yes.
And, like, but just listening to this album, I go, sometimes bands will get producers who just don't know how to work with them. And NOFX seems like a band who you have to... The person recording them has to know that band because you could screw this band up terribly if you don't understand them. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I think Ryan got what they were going for, and like I think on this album too, sonically, I think it's one of their best sounding ones. Like it's a cleaned up version too of like as we were talking about like Punk and Drublick and Heavy Petting Zoo. It sonically sounds, but not only the song's better, I think it starts sounding better. Like just from that,
just crisp and clean, and kind of everything is kind of like isolated in a way that like
I see what you're saying.
You can kind of pinpoint everything that's happening if you're like listening to it with headphones on.
You can hear the guitar, you
you
can hear that bass, you can kind of. It is a good album. It really is like on good headphones and stuff because it is like those things that are in there are in a way where you can pull them out and start like even the two separate guitars, like you can tell like kind of who's playing what, you know, in a way that you can't always even on NOFX there's certain albums where it's like everything kind of the guitars bleed together, like it's all kind of like hidden in the mix.
And this is also when they were still doing like one guitar on one side, one guitar on the other side.
It works well for them.
And I think I don't know if it was like a 90s thing where they were like, oh, well, we've got to do it the way that we're doing it live, so only two guitar tracks and maybe the solo in the middle. But after 2000, all bands started doing a lot more like the rhythm. There's two rhythm parts, one on each side, and then the lead part is in the middle. So like you're getting like this big wall of guitar that kind of like makes things a little bit more muddy. Like it if it's mixed really well, it can sound just huge. But like for this, it's kind of like pared back and just like really effective in like a really simplistic way.
Well, now that you say that too, that is a good point because I think of like later NOFX albums. And it isn't as you can't pick apart the stuff as much. Like you can't as much go that's El Jefe or that's Eric Melvin. Like you don't get that as much. Mm-hmm. So and I never thought of that, but that part of it, maybe even working with Ryan Green because I don't know if they work. I don't know when they stopped, but I don't think he's produced a NOFX record in a long time.
I'm not sure.
think
I
it's
know
been a
that they've
while.
got a different guy like mixing and recording them.
Doing all of that.
Like a younger guy. He's
Oh,
like
okay.
in his like 30s, like mid 30s or something. He
Damn.
kind of looks like you, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Damn, dude.
Yeah.
Well, maybe
I follow him on Instagram. I forget what his name is, but yeah.
give me a shot. I'll
Yeah.
produce the next
Do it.
NoFX record.
Do it.
I have no problem telling him, no, go write another one. I'll keep throwing a copy of this album at
Yep.
Fat Mike going, no, go write songs like this.
We're gonna need another take on that one.
Yeah, dude, we're going to need that again. You're going to play bass and sing at the same time.
Yeah.
Also, vocally, I think this era, I think his voice sounded like best
Yeah.
during this
Yeah.
this era. And look we all get older, but I think like lately his voice sounds really strained, where on this, it's like the right amount of strain.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? There's
In that sweet spot.
It's that real, I still like his voice, but I was talking to someone not long ago about Brendan Kelly, and like they said they don't really like his voice anymore. And I know what they're talking about because it has changed, but it's the same
Softened
thing.
a little bit.
Yeah, where I think it's just from singing that way. It's the same
Yeah.
way with Fat Mike. I think it takes its toll after doing it for decades and decades. I think Brendan Kelly's, I still like his voice current day more than I like Fat Mike's voice current day. But again, I don't think it's anything like, it's not like
Yeah.
Fat Mike's trying to sing differently. He's like 50-something, years of drug and alcohol abuse, and probably not singing properly.
Yep.
Like, you know, the things that they
It's
tell
not
you not
sustainable.
to do.
Yeah, it's not sustainable.
Oh, you're not going to be able to pull that off forever.
Even so, Davey Havoc had to
Oh, that's
get
a good point.
vocal surgery. Dave from Big D and the Kids Table got
Oh, that's right.
vocal surgery. So I mean, like, and those are like singers that
Blake Schwarzenbach, Jawbreaker, he had to have it, which
Yeah.
he had a real, like, dude sounded like he smoked, 3
Yeah.
packs every day or whatever.
when you sing like so energetically, like a lot of these singers do, like it's a strain on your voice. It's like if you were to like watch like a weightlifting competition, but all of them were lifting the weights wrong.
Yeah,
Like
that is.
they're only going to be able to do that for so long before something gives out.
Look at Screamo music. How many
Yeah.
of those people, you do it wrong, it
Shane
destroys your
Told
voice.
is still doing that.
You know who the dude? I can't think of his name. Bert, whatever, the singer of the Used.
Oh, yeah.
After the first record, he physically couldn't do it. He can't do those live because it's like you're like coughing up blood from doing it.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
if you don't do that right, if you don't learn how to do it right, you're screwed. You're screwed after a while.
It took me a long time to figure out that Silverstein was the same vocalist.
That, as you say, that it is insane that he can still.
Yeah.
And I think he screams. He might be the only one who has gotten better at screaming with age.
Yeah, and singing.
That's a really good point. That is a good
Gotten
point.
better at both.
They've aged really well, actually. For that genre of music.
Yeah, and it's definitely not a genre that I like really listen to, but I don't know, for some reason their albums just have really impressed me. Like the past couple of years, like going into some of their back catalog and listening to stuff coming forward.
Plus, they have good taste in music. Like even
Yeah.
that short songs
Yeah.
comp they did, like amazing.
Yeah.
Plus, they're actually, you're wearing that Punchline shirt. I remember meeting Shane at Warped Tour. I was wearing a Punchline shirt in Pittsburgh, and right away I came and was like, Punchline, aren't they from
Yeah.
here? And I was like, oh, this
Yep.
dude, he's like, oh, good shirt,
we
man.
go.
I'm like, this guy gets it.
Which Chris Fafalios, the bass player of Punchline, is the producer of the Chris
DeMakes,
DeMakes
right?
podcast.
Yeah. It all comes
full
together.
circle.
It comes, and also on
Small
top
world.
of that, and this will go right into the next song. After he complimented my Punchline shirt, I complimented the NoFX cover they did.
There
and
we
I
go.
can't remember what it was because it wasn't It's My Job to Keep Punk Rock Elite. They covered something else. It wasn't the one from Short Songs. It was another NoFX song, and I can't remember now.
Was it Linoleum?
Maybe that's not surprising. It probably was.
I don't know. I
Whatever.
know Avenged Sevenfold used to cover Linoleum a lot.
Oh,
too.
really?
Yeah.
I can't remember what it was now, but I gave him props because I'm like, not only like you played a second NoFX song, it's not on because this was like a year or so after Short Songs came out. I'm like, hell, you covered like another one. And
You know
we
what's-
talked about our love for NoFX.
You know what's sad is I would, if so, where we live is about 2.5 hours east of Cleveland and an hour and a half north of Buffalo. If NoFX, like arguably one of my favorite bands, was playing in Cleveland, And on the same night, Silverstein was playing an all NOFX cover set in Buffalo. I would probably go to the Buffalo show, to be honest.
Dude, I don't blame you. And I saw them go. I know I keep bringing up short songs, but I saw them on the tour when that came out, and they played that whole album. So they played a set of all fast punk songs, and they pulled it off.
Yeah.
Amazing. Like, they're doing Kid Dynamite, Dead Kennedys, NOFX, Orchid, like all this different stuff. And it was insane how well they were doing it live. So I get what you're saying. And I saw them at Mohawk Place too. So this nice little punk club, seeing them playing those songs, those dudes can pull off some stuff like that.
It definitely wouldn't be as funny or entertaining as
the
seeing
stage
NOFX.
banter. I don't see Shane Told having the same, no offense to him, but he doesn't have the stage banter of Fat Mike.
Yeah. Exactly.
Good. That might be a good thing, might be a bad thing. I mean,
unless
that's up
they
for
just
debate,
did a bunch of drugs or got wasted before the show.
Yeah, I think that's the only way.
Yeah.
But I mean, anything else for 180 Degrees? Good song. But we'll move on here.
We're taking more time. Like every song is just longer.
The next one, track 6, All His Suits Are Torn. The funniest thing about this is I forget about this song constantly, but it's legitimately one of my favorite NOFX songs. Not just on this record. I love this song. It's kind of left field for them. It's not particularly the most conventional. Like, it's not totally different, but it's not the signature NOFX song. It's not the sound.
I think that this song would fit on Heavy Petting Zoo, to be honest. Thematically,
I could see
it's
that.
mid-tempo. It's got that palm muty kind of steady feel. Its lyrics are kind of like sad and depressing.
They're very sad.
Yeah.
They're one of the saddest songs on the record.
This song, to me, like, I used to kind of, I wasn't as into this song as the rest of the songs. You know what I mean? Like, as far as like being young and attention deficit and having songs like Grab You.
Oh yeah, this one takes a minute.
This one kind of like it takes a while. This song as an adult has totally different meaning because I've actually seen people go down this path that this song is kind of describing and actually like kind of ruining their lives and just like turning into, you know, completely different versions of themselves, and it definitely hits different than it used to when I was like 16.
Oh, I mean, this is like what we're going back to earlier, like Murder the Government stuff. Those songs that originally got you into them, it's funny because you would write off the other songs on the album. You might not think much of this.
Yeah.
15, 20 years later, or 25 for this one, it's like, no, this. And I'm the same way. Like, I had NOFX way later, but like the songs that got me into them and I still like a lot of the humor of the band, but like, it's not what got me. It's not what I like about them now. It's not the thing. It's not the main attraction. Whereas like, this song probably didn't hit me the first time I heard it.
Yeah.
But after a while, you're like, oh man, like I think something he did good lyrically, I think starting the song with a name, like I like that. That part does grab my attention. Musically it takes a second, but there's just something about that. I don't know. I notice in NOFX songs, there's times where he'll throw a name, like an actual person's name, and something about that, because I think it, like,
it's storytelling.
It is. And I mean, as you were just saying, I think as you get older, like everybody knows, what is it, Billy Coben or whatever. It's like everyone knows that that may not be their name, but as you get older, like you're saying, you know that person. Right. You can think of someone who fits this song.
I think Rancid did this well in Out Come the Wolves, where it was storytelling. It was like about people, and here's this person in this scenario, and here's their choices, and here's the way that they're struggling and everything.
Yes.
It's kind of, it's something that they did really well, and this is kind of along the same vein as like,
I didn't even think of that. You're so right though.
It's just this really kind of great way of creating a visual and immersing the listener into this kind of experience, this story. In a way that like basically only like movies and TV shows do, or like books. But this is like the musical kind of equivalent of that, of like that storytelling aspect.
Which you got to be good at, because when you're reading a book, you can make those mental thoughts. If you're if you don't write, it's much easier to write a song where people aren't conjuring up those images. It's harder to do, I think, sometimes in song.
Yeah, and I think the fact that it's just this like kind of like this mid-tempo song and just this steady kind of flow. It's like slightly upbeat, like almost borderline kind of like poppy sounding.
On this one, you think that?
Yeah, like like if it had different lyrics, it could be a much kind of like brighter song, I feel. And it's got just this really sad, really somber, serious story kind of juxtaposed over this music. So it's like like the music is slightly like less serious or slightly almost like lighthearted. You could just kind of like, if you weren't paying attention to the lyrics, you could just kind of like be, cleaning your house or doing the laundry or whatever, just kind of like bopping around and stuff. But if you like actually sat down and read the lyrics or listened to the lyrics, like it takes you on a completely different journey.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It is, but it's funny you say that, because musically to me, I felt like it's always fit the lyrics.
Yeah.
Like I think it's somewhat sad, but the other side of it is I feel like more in the verses, I think the chorus kind of blows up and like works well. But I really think that verse and like that pre-chorus where they go in, there's almost like a dissonant chord. I don't know what they're playing.
That one, yeah, where he goes
You know
into,
exactly what I'm talking about. I think it's an octave even.
Yeah.
Like, I can't do it, but you obviously know what I'm talking about.
So it's like going
right before "Kill the Pain." I think it's right before he says "Kill the Pain."
So, from what I think it is you play a major note, you play a major chord, and then you play the minor version of that chord.
Oh, okay.
And that's what kind of like gives it that sad, like somber sound. Where
it is
like
sad
if you were to sit down and play an A major on a guitar, like strum A major and then strum A minor, that's what that's doing.
Okay.
So instead of like doing the octave, so whoever's playing the octave, whether it's Hefe or Melvin, comes in and plays that minor note.
Okay.
That basically creates that basically creates the major to minor sound.
Oh, okay.
And it's just kind of like it's two ways to do the same thing.
So that's what's rad about the radio show part of doing this, because after we talk about this, they can hear the song.
Yeah.
They'll know exactly what we're talking about.
I don't know what the key of the song is or what the actual note is, but I think that's what is happening.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Like the way you're describing and thinking of what it sounds like, that makes sense. Something I was thinking about too, like going back to the verses, and like what I like about them is, and the more I think about it, I will agree with you, because in a way, like where it is bright for a second, but that chord progression goes from kind of happy before that even.
Yeah.
Just from chord to chord, there's this uneasiness that I think goes to like of a person who's just never, whatever it is, not comfortable in their skin, like obviously like substance abuse and stuff. But there's just this, there's not, I don't know how to explain it, but it goes to the storytelling. It conjures up in my mind with the lyrics of a person who's just, they're just not at peace, like the guy he's singing about. And the music reminds me of that, going from happy to sad kind of.
Yep.
And like, but again, it does it more in the verses, because once it hits the chorus, I feel like that's a more straightforward kind of punk.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
then
Like
it's
it
like
blows up.
that rock kind of cuts in, yeah.
But I mean, the song just, lyrically, very, very sad. But even like just, I don't know, his phrasing and it's great. And I also think like, because some songs he really does a lot of vocal melody. I think what he does really well in this, including in like the verses, he's not monotone, but Mike's not doing anything crazy. You know what I mean? Like,
no,
this song has less. It's not trying to be as catchy or hooky as some of the other ones.
Right, but the chorus is still really
even
catchy.
The last line is just don't want, the way he sings, don't want to be anyone who would want to know me.
Yep.
Like just the way he phrases that is catchy. Like that part always pops up in my head. But like I don't know, like also some of my favorite, you know what's funny, because actually Bob is like, there's another one with the name not much of an intro. They just get right into it. And it's kind of the same where it's just this, like, just that palm muting and then some vocals. Actually, another one, Whatever Dee Dee Wants, I think starts that way, basically. Just kind of a real, something with name songs. They just kind of get right into it. But I think that works. There's like a certain style of NOFX song, and it's not the conventional. It's more of the other side. Like, this is actually something I think they were trying to do on their last record. When they were trying to do things differently, there were a couple songs where I thought they were trying to maybe go a serious or darker route, which for NOFX is different, but then you go, not really, because they've written songs like this before. Or even My Orphan, like, go later, My Orphan Year, shit like that, where I go, you've done it before and you can do it well. It's not a side of NOFX that you think about. It's not what jumps in my head when I think of them, but that's always existed. You know what I mean? That melancholic, like, they can write a sad song. They can get serious, and I mean,
She Didn't Lose Her Baby.
That's pretty sad song. You know what I mean? So I mean, he's always been good about that. You know, I don't know. It's something I forget about though, and sometimes like when I hear them do it present day, I go like, oh, like that's something new, but it's really not. They've always had that, or almost always had that side. But like I love this song. I think this is another one, and I don't know if they play it live a lot or not, but I feel like this would be good after a really fast song. I think this would be after a really explosive, even like a Linoleum or something real big like that hits you in the face, like this after, I think would fit really well in a set.
No, because they got to make room for Franco on American.
Which is actually in many ways I think on this album just under a different. You probably know the one I'm talking about, but I feel like that song was recycled from another one coming up later, and I think they just changed the lyrics.
Possibly.
But any I don't know anything else for this song. I mean, I love it, but it just it's a sad song, and I like sad songs. I enjoy a good sad song from time to time.
Take you on a journey.
But next song. Not so sad because we got track 7 and we're all out of angst, baby. We got this is what I was talking about earlier, where it's like it's why I think they're kind of half joking about ska. Where I go, it was on purpose. I think that this song was very much a very straightforward ska song, pretty much. Like this song isn't one where they jump back and forth. This stays very ska like the whole time. And I definitely think. Lyrically, it's not really talking about ska so much, but musically, in the all out of angst thing, is very much, I think, aiming towards what ska was at the time, and also poking fun at the, because NOFX kind of, even though they are joking, they do have the political side and they do have social commentary. Like I feel like that has always been a thing where, at that time, I think this is their criticisms of the Goldfingers, the Real Big Fishes, and stuff of that of. You're not. It's all kind of puns and cheesy lyrics. It's not really social commentary. It's not really, talking about what's going on in the world. It's kind of turning a blind eye to that. And I kind of feel like, again, not all the lyrics are about that in the song, but I feel like that's part of it. That's the part of where they're kind of taking that out of ska, where it's like, you're like looking away from all the terrible things in the world and playing like happy, upbeat punk music with horns in it.
Yep. I like this used to be one of my absolute favorite ska or NOFX songs, ska songs, really.
That trumpet's good. That is some good trumpet in there.
It's definitely catchy. I mean, I don't think lyrically, I don't think that it like holds up, 25 years later.
It's nothing lyrically, nothing great. I don't think Fat Mike would say it's his best.
Maybe he would, because
maybe.
But it's definitely catchy, and it's got that like juxtaposition of like happy ska music versus these like self-detrimental kind of lyrics. So
that society don't bother me, and there's something wrong with that. That's it kind of goes back to that of the turning a blind eye or whatever.
It's definitely like one of those things that you can see that type of tongue-in-cheek songwriting go into like their future albums and stuff, and be these different things that he kind of tends to like lean towards, as far as like having these like jokey lyrics and stuff, and on top of these like kind of goofy almost sounding songs, Yeah, I mean, it definitely like hit me different when I was 11 than it does when I'm 36.
Than it is now.
Yeah.
I think that's a good thing if your taste in the, even if you still like the same albums, I think you should
Yeah.
at least like this. Your favorite song should probably change on it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
It is like, again though, the trumpet on this song. I think if you took the trumpet out, the song would lose a lot of its like, because it would sound like a generic ska song. I think I think that trumpet really like, and another credit to El Jefe. All the ska bands that were out at that time normally had like 3 people in their horn section, and El Jefe on this record is really good with just him and a trumpet.
Hold it down. Well, you know what? I saw Against All Authority
Good
in
band.
Buffalo, and a long time ago, but they were one of those ska bands that like went from like a 4 or 5 horn section to like literally one guy on a trumpet. And did their whole live set with just like one dude.
He pulled it off?
Yeah, I mean, it was Against All Authority. It was cool.
That's true. It's still good
You're
stuff.
not worried about like the horn
That's
players,
true.
you know.
Good point.
Or like RX Bandits just like completely got rid of their
they
horn
just got
section.
Though what a good transition. They're still so good. Like they're a band who did it. Like talk about transitioning.
Yeah.
But it actually working.
Well, yeah, and they had a real big evolution from like their stuff in the late 90s to even like Progress, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they totally did the right thing and like kind of like went the right way as opposed to like
If they didn't,
digging
they wouldn't
in
be
further.
I don't think people. It's funny if you think about it, because if they never changed their sound, they wouldn't have that cult following they do now.
Yeah.
They would have fallen in with all the bands they came up with. Really, they would probably just fall into obscurity of like this random ska band that was on Drive-Thru.
Right.
That would be
right.
their legacy
Uh-huh.
had they not done that.
Yeah.
But you know, going back to this song, like I mean, I think lyrically and musically, again, works really well. They hit the nail on the head for what they were going for.
Yeah.
Like you got to give them that. It has this real. That music's just so carefree. Like the whole time, it just has this really like. Honestly, if there was no music to that and you just heard it like on an elevator or something, it would just be like really
You'd be like, I'm not insane.
Yeah, you without lyrics, it's just in your head. You're like you would just know, like that's just I don't know why, but that's in my head. And but it does like it almost sounds like it could just be this real like background music in something if there were no lyrics.
Yep.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't hate this song, but I guess the same thing. It's not up there as like the best song on the record. I like it. I don't skip it. I enjoy it when I hear it.
Yeah.
But yeah, not in the echelon of like. I mean, even the last song, I thought, you know, I think that's one of the best ones.
Yeah.
This one isn't in there. But
Yeah.
still good. Still good. I don't.
Although I do think he could play this song and sing it live because the bass part is more straightforward. It's doom doom
Yeah,
doom
you're
doom
right.
doom doom. It's like these straight notes, it's not like staggered or anything like that.
That one would actually, that was the other thing I was going to say about this. Funny enough, and maybe it exists, we're talking about all these alternate versions, like a sped up version of this. I think this song could work in just traditional NOFX style, like a fast punk song. I actually think it would work. Maybe even with the trumpet lines on guitar. But I would like to hear them kind of reimagine that as like a faster, more punk version.
Yeah. Well, I think that's what works really well about their second live album is they do a couple of their like slower acoustic songs like sped up as like the full band.
I haven't listened to that album in forever.
Yeah. And like they do Scavenger Type and they do it like sped up as like the full
nice.
band, and it's just like it works really well. So it's definitely something that they've done before.
Yeah, I would like. I don't think it would be crazy if they did that, but I would love to hear them do it for that one. Anything else for that, or shall we move on?
Yeah, I'm good.
Number 8, we're halfway through this thing. It is I'm Telling Tim. What I like about this song is, again, Fat Mike, if he has a problem with anyone, he'll write in, like, he's equal opportunity, because, again, on It's My Job to Keep Punk Rock Elite, I think he's talking more about the mainstream radio, major labels, MTV. This one, he's going for indie. Like, he's going for basically, like,
punk
peers
rockers,
and punk rock. Like, which I like that on his record, because, again, when just Fat Mike in general, like, it's not like he's just, like, there's nothing wrong with punk in general. It's just the mainstream. Right. He talks about what's wrong with the holier than thou of punk music. And, again, document of the time. You have to think of 1997 in the time where people, the sellout culture that he is, it's funny because at one point he's talking about selling out, but this one's kind of more about the people who are so holier than thou about selling out. The people who are the problem about it, who make an issue with you trying to make money at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
I appreciate this song, especially after hearing the version from one of the 7 inches that was on the 45 or 46 songs. They have this song on there that's that I think was on like the Fuck the Kids 7-inch or whatever.
It's a classic.
And it was almost more like a demo, kind of like sloppy. And if you listen to that version and then listen to this version, it will show you how cleaned up and crisp and tight just this entire album is, but especially this song. Like they really just kind of like cleaned it up and polished it
from the original version.
From the like the original 7-inch version. And they do this thing with the guitars where they like basically the full band where like the guitars like hit one note and like pause while the bass is still like playing and the drum's still going. So they're like dun 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 dun. So it's like things kind of like cut out and come back in and just they kind of hit a little bit more complex than if you were to just play it as like a straightforward punk song where the guitars are playing the whole time and the bass playing the whole time. Yeah. There's nothing like, there's no little extra kind of things in there that make it more of like a enjoyable listening experience. You know what I mean? It's like those little kind of jewels in the song that you kind of like notice when you listen to a different version of it, you know? Yeah.
I like hearing those like when bands will put them out and you'll hear the original or the demo version versus but like more of a realized one, not like a real rough demo, but like, I guess it's like the rough mix more than anything. It's kind of more in that than a demo, but like a lot of times you do like hearing what changed or what they took out. Yeah. Normally it's take out. Normally I feel like later on they take that stuff out instead of adding to it a lot. Yeah. But I mean on this one, like I can't remember on that, were the lyrics any different or just music?
I think it
in
was,
between them.
I think it's all the same. I think they just kind of like play it better and tighter on this album.
I still like, you know, talking about just genius of songwriting, like just you better watch out, you better not cry, you better put out records DIY. Yep. It's such a great, like for the content of the lyrics and just being like clever. Like again, like because if you're going after your peers and people, because like the major label's one thing, you don't see those people. These are people you've got to play tours with. You see and play, like, you know what I mean? They really are more of peers. So it's like if you're going after people, you got to be clever, you got to be good. And I mean, I think very well executed.
And I think also lyrically from this standpoint, you can see the future of Fat Records and the hate that they would get. A lot of the bands that joined Fat Records would get after, you know, being like on smaller DIY labels or whatever.
Even against me, like even though the major label is what we all think about, I've heard Laura talk about where just the jump from no idea to Fat, they were getting people like trying to slash tires at show, like insane. Again, going with the insaneness of sellout culture of the 90s. You know, I mean, the ridiculousness of where it's like, it's too far. You also got to think of Epitaph, because I'm sure Epitaph, which they were on at this time, was probably getting crap for getting, because at that point, they already had Out Come the Wolves, Smash came out, like, you know, they weren't that small label anymore that way.
Although I don't know, I mean, you know, Epitaph probably didn't care. I mean, it was the first time.
They still got criticism.
They definitely got criticism. But whether you cared as you're sitting in your bathtub full of money.
Swimming Brett Gurewitz is swimming in that sweet like Smash money.
Scrooge McDuck style. I don't think that you really mind that much.
That's a good point.
Like he was, you know, people like send him hate mail and shit, and then he'd like go and check his bank account real quick. and then he felt better.
Well, I don't think he cares, but I wonder if Fat Mike, from the standpoint of being, you know what I mean,
Yeah,
being on that
he definitely,
label,
yeah.
if people gave them crap for like, oh, you guys are on Epitaph, like, you know.
Yeah, but he, you know, you can't feed the trolls. You know what I mean?
No.
So.
Which, and they're good at it, because again, like if you wrote this and it like was cheesy or didn't sound good and didn't age well, like I still think it's a good song. Like I still think, like, knowing the culture of that time and everything, what he's going for, I think he did amazing. Yeah. Like I think this is a song that did age well. Like of the, I don't know that it's top 3 of the record, but it's up there as really, really good.
It's short, it's quick, it's just like, you know, it does what NOFX does best on this record.
There's a couple like on this record, and it's not just like one song. There's a few that are like, it's just quintessential. Like if I'm thinking about the things that make me like NOFX, they're on these songs. Yeah. Whether it's those harmonies, those weird chord progressions, like just the vocal melodies, Mike messing up the pronunciation of things to make it work. Like all of that is on this record, I feel like. You know, like all of it, all of the things I love are here. And this song also musically, I mean, another one just drum-wise from Smelly. Like just one of those, just so, like, it's not even that he's doing a bunch of crazy things. It's the tempo that he's playing at and keeping it so steady. You know, it's just some of these faster ones that go like it's just precise. And there is that start and stop too. Like not so much for him, but like just musically, it does kind of move around a little bit. Like, you know, it's not all. Not that it goes into like ska territory and stuff, but like musically, it's doing a couple little different things, and it just like it works really well. Another thing, like vocally, I think Fat Mike just has. Like talking again about like how good his vocals, like I think this is like one of the best airs of his voice. He has that bratty like snarl. Like he means it when he's singing this. Like you can tell he has an issue with the people he's singing about and like the scene and stuff. Like it's genuine, and he has just that. It's that right like youthful. Like I don't know if it's youthfulness or just pure anger on his part. Like whatever it is, not even sounds angry. Yeah. But you know what I mean. Like
it's that authenticity and sincerity in his voice.
Yes.
And you think about like the first line of Linoleum, like possessions never meant anything. It's like
I'm not crazy. Like as he's like going up. Yeah. Like there is that genuine. It's genuine.
Yep. Exactly.
Even if he's not hitting, you know, he may not be the world's greatest singer. But it's one of those things where no one else could sing for. Like if Fat Mike left NOFX tomorrow, I don't know who's going to replace him and sing like that or pull those off.
No. I mean, and he's just got such a unique voice in a way that's like not necessarily like from a vocal like a vocally superior point of view. It's just a unique thing in a Jackson Pollock-y kind of way. You know what I mean?
And he wouldn't, and the other like vice versa, if no one made anything to like take over for him. I also don't see Fat Mike taking over for a lot of other, like I don't see him pulling off a lot of other genres of music or be in other bands.
Or well, I mean, you notice it like in Me First and the Gimme Gimmes, like if he ever does like a harmony or a line or something in the song, like you know it's him. He definitely is standing out, even likewise Joey Cape. Like if Joey Cape is doing a harmony or a line or something like that, like you know it's him. Like that's what makes Me First such a cool band.
Yeah, like, you're mixing those like these huge personalities, really.
However, I think at this point, I'm not sure if it was this, but it was definitely in the decline. Spike Slauson started doing all the backup vocals for NOFX. Yeah,
I didn't know that.
He started doing them on like all their albums, all their songs.
I had no clue about that.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. And definitely like pump up the volume and stuff. Like he's in there like doing those like 3-part choir like
the good stuff, like the really.
They still have like Hefe on there and Melvin and all that, and like. They're still doing that, but he's going in and doing like those tight layered harmonies in there. I'm not sure if he's on this album or not. I know it was really early on. They probably maybe started.
Was the first album out by now, or is that a couple years later?
I don't know. I want to say it was around 97, 98.
Because I feel like it's in this era, but it could have came after this album per se. Like still the era.
Could even have been 96, but I don't know. I mean, I was I was still
That's
like
true.
so oblivious, but there's no excuse because I've been a fan of
Yeah,
these
you
bands
poser.
yeah.
You poser. How
a
dare you
poser.
not know?
Yeah.
I don't know. I love this song, and again, like I think his vocal delivery just works perfectly with what he's singing and stuff. Like, it's just a good song.
Yeah.
It's a very good song, and again, like I like I like that he can go back and forth. He can talk a little trash on the majors. He can also talk trash on indie labels.
Yep.
You know, if he has a problem with you, he's gonna let you know about it.
Yeah, get fucked.
Yeah, exactly. Anything else on this one, or shall we get going to track 9?
Track 9, let's do it.
All right, it is track 9. I'm probably going to destroy the name. It's like Champs-Élysées?
Yeah.
Okay, but this goes back to, I put this in the same category as Monosyllabic Girl, where I don't know what the decision, like I had to look it up, but this is like an old French song. It's like an old, I guess, standard or something.
Yep.
And they just went and covered it, and it's in the middle. It's track 9. It's kind of in the middle of this album. It's just a random, all in French song. I'm not. I don't know how you feel about this song.
When I was younger, I used to be obsessed with this song because I was like, it's so cool that it's in French and possibly teaching me French. I don't know.
If you know what he's saying.
I didn't know that this was a cover song. I didn't know what they were saying. Like,
I didn't know until the other day it was a cover song. I knew it was in French, but I never looked it up before.
I thought maybe these guys were French. I don't know. Like,
NOFX is a French name.
yeah. That must be French. I mean, when I was a kid, like I knew nothing about this band. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, I didn't even know like what they looked like. There was like a picture of, I don't know if it was this album, but a picture of the bass player from Limp was
I think it is this record
as Fat Mike, and I was like, I didn't even know what he looked like at this point.
I think this is the one in the liner
Yeah.
notes. It's all different members of just different bands.
Just
them.
totally trolling their fans, like.
Well, it goes back to like again, like nowadays liner notes are like kind of a lot of people don't have liner notes. They just get it digitally. It's not even a thought.
Yep.
Back then, before the internet and social media, that's how you find out the band's names, what they look like, unless you see them live. But I think that's the thing. NOFX has that sense of humor where instead of maybe this would help us if we were like more like you know who we were and our names, we didn't make it so hard to just get a straight answer. But then it's hilarious because you go think of how many people went and saw them live.
We were like, no, this isn't them.
Yeah, because again, even when you think of like MTV and stuff, they're not on MTV.
Right.
There aren't music videos on MTV to see them.
Yeah.
Their picture isn't in Rolling Stone. Like it's not this
Well,
thing.
it was at some point in
I guess at some
2004.
point. Oh, at that point, yeah. But I mean, I think back in like the 90s and stuff, they
weren't really doing interviews and all that stuff.
It is hilarious. That's because the albums were still good. They didn't have to
That's funny.
promote single album. But anyway, I will say with this song too, though, it is funny because you were saying you liked it more when you were younger. It does seem like a song where like I don't know, you do have a kid, though she's like really young, but like if I had a kid, I feel like this would be a one you could see a kid like getting into.
Yeah,
just because it sounds it's fast, it's fun. You don't gotta know what he's singing, just the melody's
it's bouncy.
fun.
It's just I would play this for my daughter.
It's probably more appropriate than a lot of NOFX songs.
It's more appropriate than every NOFX song.
That's a good. You know what? The only appropriate NOFX song for kids is one that's sang in an entirely different language.
Yep. It's in French.
It's I don't know. It's one of these songs where like I still like something I will say though on it, even though I think it's so random. It is a good testament of how just a song, if it's good, because like I don't even know if Fat Mike knows what he's singing, but like musically it fits with the rest of the record, and even like that melody is just so catchy of what he's singing and stuff that it gets into your head where it's like it doesn't matter if you know what he's singing. It doesn't matter, you know, like it's random, yes, but like I feel like it fits. Now, do I think it's crucial to the album? No, I don't know this album. I don't think I'd like it any less if this song didn't exist on it. But I do think it fits where it's at. It's kind of this. It's harmless. You know what I mean?
It's fun.
Yeah, it's fun. Like there's certain songs I detest where I go, why is that on a record? I wish it was off. Yeah. There's somewhere I can think about right away. I go, I wish that song wasn't on that record. This one, I don't really care. And I won't skip it. I'll listen to it. Like that is what I'll say about this record. Like even the songs we've talked about that aren't as good, I won't ever skip them. Like,
Right.
I don't really skip Murder the Government or Monosyllabic Girl. They may not be the best songs on the record, but I'm not skipping them.
Yeah.
You know, they're not garbage. They're just not. There's so many other good songs on here.
Yeah.
You're not going to spend your time on that.
Right.
You have too much. You just have too much other good stuff.
Yeah, and also like when you're younger, your attention span's a lot worse too.
This
So it's
album's
like-
good for that, though.
Yeah,
There's a lot of
yeah.
short songs.
But it's like then you come in with this kind of like slower poppy song, and it's like, I don't know.
It
I don't
does
know
go
if
back and forth. I do like
Yeah.
that part, the slow kind of verses, and then picking it back up in the choruses.
Well, especially like when it gets to the, I don't know if it's the bridge or whatever, but it's like at a minute 45 where they come in and start doing it fast, so it's like double time. Then it's the song is so, like, that part of the song is so much more effective because the earlier part of the song was kind of so slow and steady.
You're right about it too.
Yeah.
Because I just said choruses, but you're right. The first chorus really isn't like that. It's the second half of the song, like all
Yep.
together, basically.
Yep.
Or like the very end of it that it really picks up. Because in my head I was thinking about that. I'm thinking it was like double time for both, but it's not. It's just they get a little louder in like
Yep.
the first chorus, but
Yep.
it doesn't pick up speed. But it is fun, like just those dynamics and stuff. It's another one I go musically. Sounds like a classic NOFX song, even though it is a cover. Like it
Yep.
works really well musically as a NOFX song. Like that part, if you told me like NOFX wrote that, I totally believe
Yeah.
it. Like
Yeah.
from that standpoint. But they did, and I don't know, to be honest, I've never heard the original song. I don't know. I assume it's not. They had to put the NOFX touch on. I can't imagine the original song sounds like this.
Did you ever hear their cover of Vincent?
No, are you talking about the Don McLean song?
It's on 45 or 46 songs. You've never heard that cover?
I have that album. I don't remember them. The Don McLean song.
I think so.
If it's the song I'm thinking of, I have to go back and listen to this because no. I heard it at some point because I have that album,
Yeah.
but it's been years because I don't remember
Yeah.
them covering Vincent.
Yep.
Like Vincent, got it. Starry, Starry Night?
Yep.
That's not, I love that song.
Yeah.
The original, I need to go back and listen to that.
Well, NoFX did their version of that, and I'm assuming that this song, they did their version of that.
The same thing, yeah.
Yeah.
Where it probably doesn't
Where-
sound like the original.
No.
Yeah.
And if the writer of the original heard their version,
Wouldn't-
probably would be pulling their hair out too.
Yeah, I saw there was a headline of an interview. I can't remember what one it was. I can't remember what song they covered. What Eagles song? Do you know what Eagles song?
Me First?
Maybe it was them. Yeah, Fat Mike was talking about how he talked to someone in the Eagles. And they said it was the worst Eagles cover they've ever heard in their life.
Desperado? Was it Desperado?
I think it might be.
Yeah.
But it's funny because it's like that. It's the same thing where, the original song is probably not into that little Fat Mike
Please
touch
don't
to
ever
it.
play that for me ever again.
Yeah, please don't. It really is kind of acquired taste because it's funny. Like, like NoFX are kind of like, oh my God, it's Fat Mike and stuff. It's like, love
Yep.
them to death. But yeah, punk is one of those genres. I guess all genres kind of have it, but it's like, if you're not into it,
Yeah.
it's
You're definitely not into it.
NoFX is a very acquired. Like, we love them, but it's like, you do think about it. It's like, it's not a band you can just play for anyone and just expect them to love it the way you do.
Yep.
You can't put on some of these songs and just hope that person gets it the way that you get it.
I have been with my wife for 9 years, and she has probably only heard like a handful of NoFX songs. That's how much I love her.
What a good husband.
Yeah. I curate for my wife.
I mean, honestly, there's some songs I could see maybe not.
Yeah.
NoFX is a band you got to get ready to hit skip if you have like wife and kids.
Although she's come with me to shows.
Oh, okay. So she knows what
you
they're
know,
about and stuff.
Yeah, she's definitely had a good time. We've seen them a couple of times, and I think it was the last time we saw them. It was at Punk in Drublic in Virginia before the incident, and they got canceled. But that tour was like mostly just shit talking on stage. Like, they were going out of their way to just try to say the most offensive stuff on stage
This
that
was
they could.
2018, right?
18, yeah.
Okay, so
And-
I saw them in May of 18, like a couple months before the Las
Yeah.
Vegas thing. So I
Yep.
think this is the same time.
Yeah, this was
and you're right. They
same
were,
tour, yeah.
I saw them in Pittsburgh, and they were doing a lot of trash talking.
Yep. And like going out of their way to like just
Yeah.
say as much foul stuff as they could. So I was not surprised a couple months later.
That
but
eventually it bites them in the ass.
what happened, what they did was they booked Bad Religion to play an hour and a half, to play like that one album front to back, and basically play just super tight, really high quality, hour and a half. Sun goes down, everybody's hammered because it's a beer fest, 21 and over beer fest, and then NOFX just plays just the shortest, sloppiest set that you can possibly see, and then they leave. And everybody leaves happy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because it's like, well, what do you expect? But like, yeah, at that point, they were just...
That acquired taste thing, the funny thing about
Yeah.
that is I remember my a couple friends meeting me at that Punk and Drublic show who were going, and they left after Bad Religion.
Yeah.
Because they're a band, again, if you really like NOFX, you really like them. But if they're not, even if they're just kind of not your thing, you're not going to stick around for that. They knew what it was. Like, I could tell when I asked my friends, like, oh, you're leaving? And they're like, yeah, we're not really into NOFX.
Yeah.
Like, no, thank you. My biggest regret of that was the Interrupters played, and I didn't pay attention to them because I was screwing around with my friends. And they put out a record that I really liked that same year. So I was kind of sad I didn't pay more attention to them at that show.
Wait, they were playing, and you were like... And you just like, you didn't realize they were playing?
I knew they were
like,
playing, but someone no
Shenanigans happened
yeah,
at
let's
the
just
show.
say, I was
Shenanigans
my
at the
mind
show.
wasn't on the Interrupters at
Yeah,
that point.
okay.
We'll leave it at that.
Last Gang was on that tour.
Oh,
And
they weren't on that show because I would have paid attention to that because I was into them at that point.
Last Gang, and I wasn't. I had seen them, and that was like my first time hearing
This
them,
last
and it
record,
was
people
like,
are all on them. I was on the record before. I like this one too, but that Keep Them Counted, I can't remember now. It was from they put it out in 2018. It was really damn good.
Yeah. And then Mad Caddies played as well.
Mad Caddies played it was Mad Caddies, Interrupters, Bad Religion, and NOFX. I don't think there are any other bands.
Yeah.
But that was mine. I mean, I got to say honestly, and I like NOFX, but I do think Bad Religion had the better set.
Well, I
guess that's
I
a
think
given.
I think NOFX would tell you that Bad Religion had the better
Yeah,
set.
you know what? I guess I'm kind of stating the obvious.
They were like,
here.
yeah, duh. That's why we had them on the tour.
Even the last time, I can't remember, but NOFX, I saw them a year or so before Punk and Drublic, and it was kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
Like a lot more banter than actual songs.
Yeah.
And just kind of, actually Mike more than anyone. It was more, I should say, Mike.
Yeah.
with
He's
the
been on a
banter.
journey the past 6 years, I guess.
To say the least, I would say so. But anything else for this? Again, I would love to know the backstory. I mean, really, I'm probably giving it too much credit. It's probably like Monosyllabic Girl, where it's like, it'd be funny. It's NOFX. They think it's funny
Yeah, I
to
don't
throw
know.
that on there. I don't know what the reasoning was. Again, I could do without it, but I don't hate it. I'm not going to skip it.
Right.
You know, but it kind of there's a couple on this album. We'll get to another one soon where it's like, I think we're okay if it wasn't on here.
Yep.
You know, still love the album. Wouldn't care if it wasn't on here.
Mm-hmm.
So moving on to track 10. Again, with His Suits Are All Torn, this is the second. So like if I'm thinking of the two big like tear jerkers or just whatever, not tear jerkers, but like the serious songs on this record, Dad's Bad News, which is another really, really good song. I think this is another up there is like one of the best songs on the record. That bass intro, another really strong bass intro.
Yeah.
That not that he's doing anything crazy, but he is doing a little more on that than he is with
a little kind of walking bass
Kids in the
line
K-hole.
thing. Yep. Still, okay, so this is what, track 10 we're at?
Yeah, we're on 10.
No guitar solos. Not a single guitar solo.
Couple bass solos.
A little bass thing.
In quotes.
A few like guitar embellishments.
That's
we'll
a good
say.
way of putting it.
No guitar solos.
Damn, dude. Including on this one, because this song is, I don't know about you, but this has very face-to-face vibes to me. This could be a face-to-face song, in my opinion.
And it just kind of goes like verse to chorus to verse to chorus to bridge.
It's
like,
more straightforward.
Yep.
Also, just like face-to-face, the bass is doing a little more than the guitar. The guitar on this is more straight chugging and more rhythmic.
Mm-hmm.
It's not riffy. There's not really leads, I wouldn't really say.
Yep.
It's a lot less of your traditional NOFX, like guitar-wise and stuff. And it is that, I think that more mid-tempo punk of that time. Like face-to-face, obvious is just the obvious one to me. I could see them doing an amazing version of this. But it's just that real, which I got to say they do well. I think the guitar on it is real. Like, they're good at just playing in the pocket, just that real chugging.
Yeah.
And a couple times that like I can't do it, but I think you know what I'm talking about, where they go from muted to like strumming it out, whatever the hell you want to call that. And they do it very well, but again, it sounds like that other side, kind of the like punk of the time that also is into the Fugazi or the emo post-hardcore side, you know what I mean? Who could kind of were into that, you know what I mean? Or maybe listen to Jawbreaker and stuff and kind of had that side. But it's another one where it doesn't. I don't think it sounds like a straight up conventional NOFX song, but I think it's one of the best songs on the record.
Yep.
I love this song.
Here's an example of him pronouncing a word weird.
Lay it on us.
Psychotic. He's saying
psychotic.
Yeah.
I know.
He's saying psychotic.
I've been trying to figure out what a psychotic. I'm not even lying. Until you just said that.
Yeah, like why would you sing that like that? That's weird. But it doesn't work if you sing it psychotic.
Yeah, it does. That's the thing. It's like if you're talking to an English teacher, they go like, that makes no sense. If you're a songwriter, like a good songwriter is like, screw it. Like we'll break the rules. Like it works.
Mm-hmm. I don't know what the story is behind the song, or like if there's a specific like true story behind this song.
I've wondered that if it was like I take it for face value and go, it's about his like him himself. But it could just be a character.
I don't think it's about him. I think it's a story about somebody. But this one just for me, when I was younger, I used to really like this song. But for me now, it's like too heavy. I think with everything that that has like come to light about like mental health and like suicide awareness and everything this song like is just like it's so much more of a bummer now than it like used to be, you know what I mean? Because it's like just the most kind of like sad version of like that like mental health suicidal
there's no
struggle.
Hope in this song.
Yeah, like
it's hereditary. They're just this is going to keep passing on and you can't really stop it. I'm gonna kill me, you're gonna kill you. Like it's there's not like a gleam of hope in it's not like the song ends on like a real high note or anything like that. No,
it's like Jesus Christ, like how bleak can a song get, you know what I mean? Like so this one definitely depending on my mood, every once in a while I'll have to like skip this one just because it's like
if I was in
too
a fast
big
mood,
of a downer.
Yeah, if I was in a mood for like fast, just traditional NOFX, this isn't gonna make it on the playlist. I really like this song, but you're right. If I'm listening like the Linoleums and just all around fast songs, this one's not gonna make it on that playlist. Like I'm not putting this on. Like if I'm going to like to work out, probably not the NOFX song that makes it on a like workout playlist. Right. You know, you're not running or exercising this one so much. Yeah. It's a little too sad. But see, at the same time, it goes to like, you know, which is so funny where they kind of like look at all sides of it. Because you look at a song like All Out of Angst, you know, everything's but again, it's that thing where it's like it's not really. You know, on the surface it is, but it's not really. Right. And he kind of, I mean, at the same time in this song, but also with Suits, what's he, I just had in my head and I just lost it. In the chorus, it's like the first, oh my God. I can't think of it right now. And I just had it in my head. There was a specific line I'm thinking of, but like, he's just, again, it's basically the same thing of like, not everything's not hunky-dory just because you say it is or because you ignore it.
Is it in the first verse? Or the first chorus?
I think it's in the first chorus.
Kill the pain, integrity don't keep you warm and
That's a good one. That right there is one of them. Yeah, there's a few lines there, and I think that was what I was thinking of. Is like just that. Like again, it's that like
don't want to be anyone who would want to know me.
Yeah, including the first one you just said, like the integrity don't keep you warm and sane. It's like that someone just telling you to put a smile on or something like that. Like to quit, if you have an addiction, to just quit or something like that. It's kind of that, like, it doesn't work that way. You know what I mean? It's kind of the same in this song where it's like putting a smile on doesn't work. It didn't work for me. It didn't work for who came before me. It's not going to work for you, you know? It is hope, like you were saying, I mean, going kind of to your point, it is a hopeless... Yeah. He's not trying, which I don't think Fat Mike ever, I think to this day, he doesn't really write songs with like at the end there's hope. You know what I mean?
No, he doesn't like turn it around. He kind of sticks to the theme.
The only one I will say he kind of does it on would be, I believe it was, I wrote it down, on 180 Degrees he kind of does, where I think he, like the way I take the lyrics, they sound angry and stuff, and it sounds like the world is a screwed up place, but you also don't have to accept that.
Yeah.
You can be mad at those, because there's this hopelessness in parts of it where it's like, you may not be able to change the world, this is the way it is, but it doesn't mean you have to accept that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, so... But I would say more times than not, he doesn't. That's more an exception to the rule. He more times writes a song like Dad's Bad News.
Yep.
Where it's not going to end on a... I mean, it's the same guy who wrote Xmas Has Been X'd.
Yeah.
There's a lot of...
Yeah.
He's not really into writing happy... Which I guess at the same time, we might not like NOFX so much if all the songs were really happy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If he was trying to write songs that you want to roll your windows down on a sun... It is funny because NOFX... I don't know if they like the pop punk category, but I feel like people kind of throw them in that. Even I do, but it's that different side of it where it's like there's certain pop punk on a hot summer day, you roll the windows down and blast it. A lot of NOFX songs you can't do that with. Whether it be well, actually, most of it is lyrical content. You probably shouldn't be blasting that.
Yep.
But like it's the different side of that because some pop punk is so that term even really you think about how general it is because pop punk can mean this really just very poppy, sugary, like it's almost pop music, but there's power chords to it. And then you have the other side that it's like, like NOFX.
I mean, I know for a long time they were categorizing themselves under like melodic hardcore, and were like leaning into that, which
I think it just meant they were being labeled pop punk and didn't like it.
Yeah,
That's like Newfound Glory. Now they fall into pop punk. Like everything, they sell shirts with pop punk on it.
Yep.
Back in 2001, pop punk was a 4-letter word, and they were getting called that. And they're like, no, we're anything but pop punk. We're easycore. We're punk.
We're emo.
We're emo. For a while, you might even go emo. It might be better than that because it's like a lot of time. Even actually, look at emo now. Emo used to be derogatory. Now bands are like, yeah, we're emo. Like, come to the emo cruise or whatever. Like people. It's weird how that's changed because there was a time where these terms were derogatory, basically.
Because what happens is the kids who were listening to that and were influenced by that are now the adults now and are deciding what's cool, what's getting funded, what they're putting their dollars into. You know what I mean? Like it's the same reason why breweries are like popping up all over the place and have like arcade games and cornhole and stuff like that.
There's a lot of those right now.
It's because like when we were kids, we were like, you know, it'd be fucking awesome when I'm an adult. Games, there's gonna be places you're gonna be able to go and like play games and drink beer and like
arcade,
eat.
Baby.
And there's gonna be a truck outside that serves pizza slices and like. It's like the world is kind of like becoming the place that we, you know, you just play games like in your pocket.
That's true. Like you're coming from a time where even I remember arcade game. I mean, like at the ass end of it, but like you go to an arcade, you put quarters in. If you run out of quarters, you're screwed. Like, you know, you don't have everything at your fingertips. You have whatever is at the arcade or wherever you're at.
The world is being shaped by like the wishes and promises we gave ourselves as children in the 90s.
That is a great point, actually. As you
so
say
you're
that,
welcome.
Like, hell yeah. If that's your I think Fat Mike should be thanking them all because that Punk and Drublic was all craft. You know what? That pissed me off for a tour called or a festival called Punk and Drublic. The cheapest beer they had was a $10 craft beer that tasted worse than a PB. Like, I was looking for cheap booze there.
Yeah.
All you could get was whatever nasty, I think it was the Punk and Drublic beer, whatever they called it. It was $10 and disgusting.
Punk and Drublic,
Yeah,
well,
it was nasty.
What happened was it was like during the day, they gave you the tiniest, like, little goblet.
I didn't get those because that line was so long for those those little goblets they were giving away.
And so it was like you could get unlimited from whatever hour, which I think was like before even the band started. And then once the band started, or once it was some crazy early time, you could get free beer. Like, and they were like, oh, it's a free beer. You just like, it's like a complete oasis here. You get free beer, you get to listen to NOFX and stuff. They give you but reality was tiniest cup in the world and free beer until the band start, and then no more free beer. Now beer's $10.
Yeah, that was exactly what it was. And I had to look around because I'm like, somewhere, they got to be selling a PBR somewhere in here.
There was free, however, there was free like weird energy drinks. There was some tent with free energy.
Someone who
drinks,
paid in to be there for a promotional thing.
They were like, we know that when you're done with this concert, you're going to want to shit your pants driving home. So here's all these free energy drinks.
That's like Warped Tour being sponsored by like energy drinks. So it's like, what else would you want in 90-degree heat and on a hot summer day but a Monster Energy?
Listen, these kids aren't going to hydrate themselves. We gotta push the good stuff.
They don't know it, but they need Monster more than they need water. You don't
they
know
need
it
it more
yet.
than they need blood.
But they were onto something with that canned water on Warped Tour too. Obviously, with everything now, they were obviously onto something with the water in a Monster can.
Yeah, now it's what the Liquid Death. Yep.
Something.
NOFX is. I mean, there's a lot of bands that are like, I don't know, they're either sponsored by them or what, but they're pushing that
everywhere.
Pushing that shit in their
it's just
like
Warped Tour water, just
in their Instagram feeds and stuff. Just like, oh, here's us just hanging out.
Oh, I see it all on a tour bus, and then there's a 12-pack over
Yeah.
here. I see that constantly.
Yeah.
It makes me laugh because we're going back to like this album in a different time where I go, not to shit talk, but I go, what would Fat Mike and a lot of fat bands of the 90s think of being sponsored by canned water?
Yeah.
That's all I got to say to that.
Yep.
Maybe I'm burning the Power Chord Hour will never be sponsored by Liquid Death, but I'm like, sometimes I look at it and go, I know you got to make a buck, but at the same time, you were writing about certain things at one time, about integrity and different things that make me go, that's a little weird, but okay.
Yep.
But anyway.
You're going to get a 12-pack of Liquid Death on your doorstep any day now.
I think so.
Yeah.
Or through my window.
You're going to, the next show, you're going to be like, last episode I talked about, a certain company, and I'd
much
like
like
to backtrack.
Fat Mike, I said some regrettable things.
Yeah.
I'd like to apologize.
Actually, pretty refreshing.
Yeah, actually pretty damn refreshing. You're going to hear me crack one open at the beginning of every episode coming up.
That's the cool, crisp sound of Liquid Death.
If you're wondering what I'm sipping in this mic, some ice cold Liquid Death.
Murder your thirst.
On that note, on murdering our thirst, anything. Oh my God, that's perfect.
Yep.
For track 11, kill rock stars.
Exactly.
It's like murdering your thirst, but you're killing rock stars. Once again, and this is one that's so funny that I never looked up the backstory of this song until getting this around. I don't know how it never made me look it up, but and I still don't get. There's not a clear, concise start to the beef. But obviously, him and Kathleen Hanna don't care for each other.
No.
And there's not a cut or dry. There's like, I read some things of Fat Mike where they played together and Bikini Kill like had some issues when they were, but like never got into specifics or anything like that. You know what I mean? Like I don't entirely know the whole, like the backstory's out there, but not the whole backstory.
Yeah. And I think that I want to say that they have a song like a
El Tigre. Is that what you thought? The response?
Yeah, something like that.
So
that,
I looked
like
this
riffs off of Linoleum.
Okay, so
like
here's the funny thing about that, because again, I didn't realize the beef. I didn't realize it was about. I don't know how I didn't realize about Kathleen Hanna. He even says Kathleen in the song.
Yep.
But when I looked it up, there's an El Tigre song on their first record. It's called Decepticon. And when you're reading about it, everyone says it's a diss and like a response to this song. There's literally one line in the bridge about Linoleum, something like "I'll walk all over you." The rest of the song sounds like it has nothing to do with Fat Mike or NOFX.
Yep.
Like the loosest of a response.
Yeah.
Because really, like when I started looking it up, everyone's like, "Oh yeah, Kathleen wrote this song later on." There's a line, like not even the beginning. We're talking like the bridge, like 3 minutes in, it's like one line. So I don't know that I would count that so much as an entire. I think Fat Mike might have spent more time singing about her.
Yeah.
than she did in the response.
This is one of my skip songs.
Yeah.
I think it's just, I feel like it's a little bit misled.
I can
you
see
know what
that.
I mean?
Yeah.
Like
This song is polarizing. By all means, I would say this would be a polarizing song on the record.
it definitely doesn't stand the test of time.
No.
He literally says, just because I don't know the reason you're so pissed, don't dare tag me misogynist. Like that's like the naive straight white guy equivalent of all lives matter.
That's
like,
Fat Mike doing it in song.
Like maybe you're kind of missing the point. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
oh, this song, I mean, by all means, you kind of, and it is funny because it is a 25-year-old record. I don't know what it seemed like at the time, but I mean,
yeah.
I got into this album like 2010 was when I first heard this. I mean, even by then, you're kind of like, oh, I could see this rubbing people the wrong way. I'd see this a little like maybe this isn't the best aging song.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like another one where context at the time, and I don't know because again, I wasn't. You were like 11. I was born in 90. I was 5, so I had no clue.
Yeah.
I don't know who Bikini Kill or NOFX are.
Yeah.
I don't know any of this.
I'm 5. Just give me some juice and take me to school.
Yeah. When I was 5, that wasn't what I was listening to.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I just think I think that it's just it doesn't really hold up, and I think that there were probably a lot of bands that had maybe not necessarily similar lyrics, but still like kind of misled lyrics. Even like the RX Bandit's first album, kind of like weird choices that were like common with the theme of the time, where like you could talk about women like that, and like you could kind of like be just this ignorant, disrespectful person and have no consequences, and it sounds like somebody was trying to like stand up to him, and he wrote this rhetorical song towards her, and I don't think that this one wins.
Yeah. Well, the other weird thing is you say that is, again, going back to like the backstory of it. I mean, it is like if that's all it took for him to write this, like just she wasn't that nice to him. You know what I mean? Like when you start thinking about it, it is weird that because again, like I mentioned too, she had like a line in Decepticon, which I mean also doesn't even name him. If you didn't know NOFX for the song Linoleum, you didn't even know what she's referencing. Well, whereas this one, he kind of wrote the whole lyrics about, you know what I mean? Like he did write a lot. It's not like it's like one line. It's the whole song.
Yeah. But I mean, do you really think that she's going to even care to get in a dick measuring contest with Fat Mike? You know?
I mean, you almost think, I mean, that's the other thing is you almost wonder, I guess, the other side of Fat Mike. And I don't know. I guess it depends where. It probably also depends on the time. I'm sure he goes back and forth, but like sometimes you wonder if he wants that reaction out of people too. If that's what he wanted out of that was more of a response. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because sometimes I think he's responding to other things. This you almost wonder if he's antagonizing.
I think maybe he was, but I think also he's. I think that he's a lot more like sensitive than he lets on. You know what I mean?
Oh, I think that's probably true.
Especially with the response to the new NoFX album, and him like going out of his way to like be so appreciative of everybody who had high praise about the album and everything. It sounded like he probably it would be a little bit more sensitive if people had some like criticisms of the album.
He's very much a person who is as critical as he is of other people. I think he takes like people who shit on the band and were critical of him. I think he takes that to heart a little more.
Definitely personal.
Even at the end of this album, that little Howard Stern clip of them tearing them apart.
Exactly.
It is on there as a joke, but at the same time, I'm sure that kind of hurt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I don't care what they say about not wanting to be on MTV and this and that. There's also a side of them where I think they just knew they wouldn't be.
Yep.
There's that side of the self-deprecation stuff in NOFX where it is a defense mechanism in some ways.
Yep.
To say you're bad before anyone else can.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To be like, we're the worst band on the bill.
Yep.
These songs are awful. We can like to do that. That is a defense mechanism at times.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know what
yeah.
I mean? So I do think that with Fat Mike, as outwardly spoken as he is, I do think he's someone where when criticized, I think his reaction's probably a little different.
Yeah.
I don't think he's someone you could just go up to and like, that sucks. Like, I think he would, which rightfully so, but he's not just going to be cool about something just because he's cool. Like, he'll talk trash on other people.
Right.
It is unfortunate about this song lyrically because musically, I really like the music to it.
Yeah.
I think the song musically is like, it's classic NOFX, but also has a vibe to where they're going next, I think.
Yeah.
If you just listen to the music, not the lyrics, but just listen to the music, it is kind of I feel like it's a little bit of what they were doing later on. Even that beginning, I can't think of what song it is, but that beginning reminds me of something off like Wolves in Wolves Clothing, or what the hell is that? Is it
Wolves in Wolves Clothing?
Yeah, like that record. Like that opening riff and stuff, that reminds me of like something off there. Mm-hmm. So like, I don't know, musically, it's another one though, it's pretty damn short.
Yep.
But this one too.
They just had something to say and they just...
Yeah, it's just kind of in and out, like real quick. I always, like, this record, too, that snare roll, like I was talking about with Smelly, like on this one, too, there's that snare roll at 9 seconds in, right as it breaks in, where it's just another one. He's so good at breaking in from intro to verse on this album. I think a lot of it is his drums.
Yeah.
It's when they come in, he'll do something like that, and just the song, it pushes it to that next part.
Yeah, he's definitely the backbone of the band.
Yes.
For sure.
I think that, and funny enough, I never thought of how much El Jefe's trumpet on this album. There's parts of it where I go, wow, that's a big part. Like in ways where I was always kind of like, it's on there, but like just an afterthought almost, where it's like, no, not really. Like if you removed it, it would lose a lot of its, like the song would lose a lot of what makes it really good.
Yeah.
It pushes it along more. Like, again, he's a better trumpet player than even I think of sometimes. Because I forget about it and I go, damn, that's a good performance. Like, I don't know much about trumpets, but I can go, I like what he's doing.
Yeah.
Like, it sounds good to me.
Yeah, he's definitely, I would say the best musician of the band.
I think that's probably true. I think that's probably true. On this one, actually, this next one, unless you got anything else on this one, should we move on? This, talking about staple NOFX songs too. Track 12, "Eat the Meek." This is one of my favorite songs on the album, and I'll probably sound like a poser, but it is one of my favorite NOFX songs. I feel like it's one of the ones that go to like that people I feel like know, but I'm like, I don't know. This song's never lost its like I've always liked this song a lot, and I've never like stopped liking it in that way. It's never worn its course with me.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of on the longer side.
It's the longest song on the record.
Yeah,
it's the longest song.
I like the remix from the 45 or 46 songs that's on there. It's like a little bit more kind of like dub influenced and stuff. Yeah. But yeah, I mean like this one just kind of like it has that slow build where it's almost like for the live show. You know what I mean?
It's a live staple, and I think the other thing that makes it so good live is they're not really a band who I feel like plays around with their songs live a lot. Like, I feel like for the most part, they'll stick to them. That's a song you can, including that beginning, like it's made for them to like throw little things on. Like, I feel like, because actually not even feel like, I've seen them do it, and that is a song they can change up live. And you can see them do it a few times. They'll do something a little different. Yeah. You know, each time. Where like a lot of songs you can't, they're not changing up like the beginning of Linoleum and stuff. Like the intros aren't really made for that. This one, I feel like just that intro and the way it is, like, you know, El Jefe, he can go on and he can play something, like he can almost do a trumpet solo and he can kind of change it up a little, or like they can throw this and that, this or that in. One, actually a really good live performance, which I had forgotten about until getting ready for this. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but they did there's a 15th anniversary of the Warped Tour, and they did a version of this with Angelo from Fishbone. And Angelo also played saxophone on it, and he was singing. But like it's even more. Actually, you'd probably like it because I would almost say they go even more into the like. It doesn't pick up so much. This one's almost more kind of keeps that tempo and pace the whole time.
Yep.
And El Jefe sings the verse, like he sings like the whole thing. It's not Mike. Mike jumps in for like some backing vocals, but it's like El Jefe like shines because like again like the trumpet in the beginning is really really good with Angelo's with saxophone. You got those two horns going, and then El Jefe just kills that whole song vocally. And then Angelo comes in. He does parts of it. And it's funny, I was reading some of the comments, but they're right. They're like, the look on El Jefe's face was, he was so surprised because someone was finally singing in key, in NOFX. And it was, because Angelo, like, it puts it in another level because he's singing those lyrics, but, like, you know, as much as we're talking about the uniqueness of Fat Mike, still, you know, this song just has such a, there's just so much more emotion. I shouldn't say there's not emotion in the studio recording, but there's just a different kind of emotion when Angelo's singing it versus Fat Mike.
Right.
It's truly, I'd forgotten about this version, but I would tell you and anyone else listening to go look up that version on YouTube. It's from 2009.
Yeah.
It's like the best version I've ever seen him do it live.
I've probably seen it, but I'll definitely have to check it out again.
It's like, I can't stress it enough. And I mean, it's always fun live. I've seen him do it live, but that one in particular stands out. Like that's one that's worth going in.
Yeah.
Like looking at.
This is absolutely like definitely a classic NOFX song. Like you wouldn't really, I think at the time, not really recognizing like how much this song is going to like stand out in their set. It's buried in track 12. Like it's not really, it almost feels like it's not an afterthought, but like it's just kind of thrown in there. Yeah, like I feel like there's certain things that were like certain songs that were almost like kind of like palate cleansers or like just kind of hitting the reset button, and I feel like this one was like that kind of like intermission. Like they sandwich it in between two pretty fast songs. Right. Like they do that a couple times on here where you will get like, including on the second half, you'll get a fast song, a little slower, like mid-tempo, and then back to fast. Yep. They'll do that. They do that a decent amount here, which does work because I think this is like such an amazingly sequenced record. Like everything flows so well together, which is also why I said even the tracks that I don't love, they don't break up. That's why I don't hate them. They don't break up the sequencing. Yeah. It all flows really well. Yep. Like no matter what the song is. There's never a part where I really think there's too big of a lull sequencing. Right. Yeah. I mean this one definitely like fits in there. And I think that like this is like another reason why I feel like this album is a more appropriate sequel to or follow up to Punkin' Drublic, because they were kind of like testing these waters on that album, and like this is kind of like them pushing it to the next level and going like the full kind of like reggae kind of style. I don't think of it now because like it really is, like we've talked about, this album is kind of a bridge for them and like things that would come later. But you are right, they're taking chances on this record where at the time is kind of new for them. Now, if you look at it in the context, it's not as weird. Like I'd heard a bunch of NOFX records before hearing this one. Yeah. So nothing really, you know what I mean? I don't feel like I was taken by it so much. Yeah. But if you had heard like older NOFX and then you heard this album, like, you know, they are trying different things. Yeah. Like you are right. This is them testing waters. Mm-hmm. You know, like even this song, I don't think is that weird now because it's a live staple and everything. Right. At the time, it is kind of like, whoa, what's this? Yeah. Even in that album, even listening to that record, like, whoa, you hear the song before this and now this, like totally different. Yeah. Yeah. And it is funny because like NOFX doesn't have singles, but if you were making a NOFX greatest hits, like this is on there. Yeah, like it's one of those. It's funny because like there's certain bands who don't really have singles or hits, but you just know, like everyone can agree, even though it's not really like, you know, maybe it wasn't on like a chart or anything like that, but just all fans know like, oh, that song is the hit or that song, you know. Yeah. Like if you were compiling that greatest hits, it's on there with Linoleum and like probably even the Decline, which is weird to say, but that might be on there. Well, you could also make an entirely different list of NOFX best ska songs, and this would like be the last song on the album, you know what I mean? This would be the closer. Props to them too, because like
It's ska, but they also throw that reggae in there too. They do, like on Eat the Meek, like they do go, like there's a little ska, but it's also very reggae. Like they go even further back than ska. You know what I mean? Like because a couple times you're like, oh, they're kind of making fun of third wave ska. Where this one you're like, nah, like this is like, you can tell, like, which is another reason why it's so good live, because they have. Not on here, but live, they have the keys and stuff, too. They have what? I can't think
Karina.
of Karina playing keys. So it's like you kind of had that, which this song's perfect for that.
Yeah.
You know, like this song just all
needs
of it
that
together.
keyboard kind of element in there.
Dude, that's what I'm telling you. And actually, funny enough, she's not playing keys in that Warped Tour performance, but I can't remember who is. I think it's one of their roadies. It's one of the dudes I remember from Backstage Passport. I think he was. Limo's playing. Yeah. Limo's playing in it, but like it sounds so good with trumpet, sax, and then you have that going on. Like it's such a good, like, again, the punk side of that song, almost all of it's taken out. Like in this version, which is funny because it's for Warped Tour, and it's like the least punk version you've ever heard of this song. Like even the speeding up at the end, it doesn't really do it.
Right.
It's I don't know. This song's fun. Live wise, it is a fun song to play on bass. It's one I always like if I'm playing around on bass. It's fun to like,
especially that part, the do 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 do.
Yes, that's what I like too, because like you can kind of pick it up, but like which is funny because ska.
And I like that it builds to the end.
But at the same time, it builds, but it never has this full out, which I also appreciate that. There's not this full out explosion.
Right.
You know what I mean? It builds, but there's not this grand finale of like feedback and just, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't all fall apart or anything like that. Like sometimes that's the buildup, like an explosion. And that explosion doesn't really happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even it ends on a whimper. It goes back to just the vocals and just the guitar at the very end.
It's just kind of like it's this other element that they include that kind of make this album so iconic because it hits on all of these different aspects of the same band and all of these things that this band does well.
Yeah, I mean, because even lyrically, great song lyrically. It's like this is the same band who wrote "Murder the Government" like eight songs prior to this. Yeah, it's the same band. You know what I mean? And like that's a smart song about I feel like it's about human greed and like overconsumption and just just the world in general and the bad things that humans do to it and that thought of us destroying the planet basically. That's kind of how I look at it.
And maybe there was some aspect to like them wanting to sing this kind of sincere song, but do it in this like tongue-in-cheek way where they had to like hide it in this reggae song.
That's a good point. I never thought of that.
Taking on a different kind of personality while they're
fitting
that message in there, you know.
I've never thought of that as a really good point.
Yeah,
because it's. I mean, because again, it's NOFX doing something pretty different.
Right.
You know what I mean? It is very different for them. And even just that, why must we stay where we don't belong? that kind of stuff. You're right. Like, you're almost doing it in this way where it is sincere, but you can't just be outwardly sincere, so you got to do it in this way. Right, you got to
have, like, WRFA sing it falsetto and, like,
But it's hilarious because then it ends up also, like, again, I think it translates so well live that a lot of times it can come out beautiful, but it can also be this kind of funny. Probably also depends how drunk they are. Because, if they're trashing on stage, it could be hilarious with him up there with the trumpet, just messing around. Yeah. But, like, when he wants to, like, WRFA is so much of what makes this song. Just between the trumpet and those choruses. Yeah. The choruses. And then live, he does the verses, too, I think, most of the time.
Yeah, he does.
So, like, all of that, which is funny because that bass isn't that hard on that one. That one, I feel like he could sing and play bass. But I guess not.
It's still got that kind of like plunky off. It's hard to do.
I can't talk trash. I've never played Eat the Meek live playing bass and singing. I'm just trash talking now.
Yeah.
But yeah, funny enough, that's the longest song on the album. It's like 3 minutes. It's like 3 something, I think.
Yeah.
And that's the ballad of the record.
Keep it tight. Yep.
But shall we move on? We have but a few left.
Yep.
And this song, track 13, The Desperation's Gone. I want to ask you.
So okay. All right. Yeah. Desperation. I was thinking of the instrumental was before this, but it's after this.
No, we'll get to that one. I don't have great things to say about it. I'll give you a little spoiler. Don't love it.
We'll just touch on it quickly.
This one, I don't know about you, but I think, and mostly I think it's the intro. But this song would have fit on Punk and Drublick. And I almost think it might have fit better on Punk and Drublick. It's not a bad song, but it very much reminds me of older note. Like it feels like if I was thinking about it and I thought that they wrote songs during like a So Long and Thanks for All the Shoes, like set, like there's that era, and maybe they wrote songs for this record in between that. I feel like this could have been written. This was a holdout from like the older batch of songs they'd written. That's how I feel about this one.
Yeah, maybe. This is one of my favorite NOFX songs.
It is a good song.
This is one of the songs that is like, this is probably my favorite NOFX bass song to play. I did a cover of this song on one of my acoustic EPs. Like, I don't have enough good things to say about this song.
It's a great song.
It's got a killer bass line. It's got a cool intro that just kind of like builds and builds, and then and so if you take this song, this is kind of like a view into my world and my songwriting process. But if you take this song, the structure of this song, and you compare it to the first song on my Fever Dream EP, where it's this bass.
I'm thinking about it now.
This bass line comes in, and then like the drums kind of come in, and it's like this intro that builds, and then boom, the vocals come in, the whole band comes in. Like, a lot of what I do is kind of like modeled after like how good this song is. And, you know, I'm not saying that I do anything that like even compares to like what NOFX does or has done, but this is definitely like a super effective, in my opinion, NOFX song that's just kind of like got everything that you want. It's got the big harmonies, it's got the energy, it's got the stops, and then the punch back in. This one, I feel like if you were to see it live, you would have no choice but to like jump into the pit as soon as the vocals start. You know, the lyrics are like perfect. I don't know. I mean, I don't have anything bad to say about this song.
It's a really good one. I still feel like though it's not, and maybe in a good way, but you could place it. I do say Punk and Drublick, but like it has that. It just has like you're saying, like classic NOFX, where like it has a lot of those things like that you think of when you think of them.
Yeah.
But I think the intro is the biggest part. Is that intro reminds me of like older NOFX.
Yeah.
With those longer, kind of more longer build up intros. Yeah. Because again, on this record, I don't know how long it takes to get out of that intro. But that intro is almost as long as some of the songs on the...
It's a minute.
Murder the Government's not a minute long.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So it's like when you think of it that way, it's like this album's not full of build-up intros.
Right.
That's not really happening. What's funny about that, too, what I noticed, is that they put on this record the two longest songs next to each other, Eat the Meek and The Desperation's Gone, and then the two shortest songs next to each other.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting. Which obviously it worked, but I would think that it would have made... Before that, like if I was putting an album together, I would almost think you'd want to space those out. But it's kind of interesting that it's, you know, on this, it's not that way.
I think that it's possible that sequencing wise they did it because of the flow of the songs and the way that the last note rings out and the first note comes in. Yeah. Being able to like flow as kind of one cohesive
more of that
unit.
Than the actual time thing.
Yeah.
It's not like they just put that. I see what you're saying.
I think that it's possible that it's more of that than just like, well, we got to have, this is a long song, so we have to put it here, and this is a short song, we got to put this here.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
It is interesting, though, that it works that way. Because they do, again, it's sequenced well. Like, I wouldn't move its placement, but it is interesting that you have... I mean, you think of how short those songs are, and then these two songs back to back are like 5 minutes, 6 minutes altogether.
Yeah.
For a 33-minute album, that's a decent chunk of time. Yeah. That's a good amount of. You get through like the first 5 tracks in that amount of time.
Right.
When you think about it.
Yeah. This song, I think, also like this is like kind of like a preview into like separation of church and skate territory.
I can see that.
Lyrically.
Yeah.
And I think that it's just like this commentary on like punk rock and the industry and all of this stuff, and but also written in this, like the first verse in this like poetic way that I think just like really works, and you don't really notice like the message. You just kind of like hear and almost visualize these like descriptive words, you know, a mixture of puke, beer, stale piss, you know, like you're just kind of like in a dingy club or, you know, house show or something like that. And it's like, yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, it's really poetic, you know, like, and it's another great example of like storytelling, but mixed with this message that he's also trying to convey. It's not just like full outright like storytelling and poetry. It's also like the message that he's kind of continued on throughout some of the earlier songs too.
It's such a balance that, again, they do so well, because you have to balance all these different things. You know, again, they're, whether musically or lyrically, they jump around. They're not one-dimensional. But again, it doesn't sound like just a bunch of crap thrown together.
Yeah.
It all works amazingly, like well thought out. Like it's all threaded together and meticulous and well thought out, but like it's not just them throwing all these ideas together. It's really putting it together and making it cohesive in a way that maybe they tried earlier on but got much better at. And this is kind of, again, where it's like they're starting to get good at that.
Yeah.
You know, maybe they attempted a little before, but this is the record where they're getting good at it. You know?
Yep.
And it does really set up like the next act of their career, you know.
Yeah, for sure. That just kind of like punch in the face, fast songwriting that they kind of like perfected here, I think.
It's funny that this, you know, with it being on Epitaph too, because I think even sound-wise, I always think of this as a Fat record because, I mean, obviously NOFX, you think of Fat records, but I always associate like that, like Pump Up the Volume and stuff with Fat, like that era. And this one always makes me think of that, where I just, for some reason, the sound of it makes me go, oh, this is when they moved to Fat.
Yeah.
And it's not.
Pump Up the Volume was on Epitaph too.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Oh, God. See, the 7 inches and stuff were on Fat, right? They were releasing that stuff, but all studio albums were Epitaph. Yep. Up until, wow. That was quite a while there on Epitaph.
I think War on Errorism was their first.
That was
Fat
War on Errorism. I was just trying, as you were talking about that, I was trying to think of what album it was, and you're right. It is War on Errorism. Wow, yeah, that's like 04.
Yeah.
But
took him a while.
Yeah, you're not kidding. Mr. Brett didn't want to get him out of that contract, probably.
I doubt that they had a contract.
Oh, do you think they just did that on just they were treated well there and just?
Yeah, I think it just.
I guess that's not crazy.
They were friends.
Yeah, that's probably not so much like a major label issue where it's like, oh, we signed an 8-album deal.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that they. But
that's a good point. It's probably not a contention like I'm saying it is.
Yeah, especially not at that point too, because S&M Airlines was on Epitaph. You know what I mean?
Like a good chunk of their catalog, was on Epitaph.
If anything, they had already like completed some kind of deal. It was probably just record to record, or maybe 2 or 3 or something.
It's a good testament to Epitaph that you're not going to move over to your own label.
Yeah,
like that. You got to be treated pretty well there.
Yeah, or they just like it. Or maybe it was an awkward thing, and they just like never wanted to say it. That just like went on for 10 years.
I know. We ripped off Bad Religion a lot, and we feel obligated. So maybe we don't.
They're our friends. Like it's gonna be a really weird conversation. So let's just do it on Epitaph again.
That is true. But I mean, really, some of their best records are on Epitaph.
Yep.
But anything else for this one?
I don't think so.
All right, we got a few more. Yeah, I mean, I already said track 14, Flossing a Dead Horse. It's funny, anytime I do these like album dissections with people, any album that has an instrumental, I don't think I've heard one yet where I go that I needed that in the album.
Yeah.
It's never by bands who need to do an instrumental. They don't need to do an instrumental. It was unnecessary.
The only thing I can say about this song is that it maybe belongs on White Trash.
I could see that.
There was something where he started getting into like these kind of like jazzy bass lines in the 90s.
This song has that vibe.
And they I think that it's just something that they thought was like funny. And
that's
they
all
just
I
put
can
on
think.
there.
Because it's just like with it goes back, because honestly, musically, it doesn't sound too different from the French cover. And like,
right.
It's just like, it's an instrumental almost at the there's 2 songs left. Like, it's just thrown as track 14. Like, it's very, I don't know. And it's another one where it's like, I mean, I don't even have anything terrible to say about it musically, where it's like, it's fine. I don't hate it, but it's like, this didn't need to be on the record by any means. It's not, I don't skip it, but if I was going to skip a song, this would probably be it. It's just like, again, what's the use of this?
Yeah.
Like
it's just kind of like a palate cleanser or something like that.
Honestly, what I think it is an instrumental they wrote that they couldn't think of any lyrics for. That's all. I hear this song, just like most bands who do instrumentals who are like punk bands, I just go, this was a song you couldn't fit a vocal melody through. Mm-hmm. You could, like, it wouldn't fit with the music. So you just, that, like, honestly, that's probably where all that trumpet comes from. Like, the trumpet is where his vocals would be. Had they like actually thought it all the way through.
Well, it's kind of like, it reminds me of 2 songs. It reminds me of the one on Punkin' Drublick where El Jefe sings it, and he sings it like that weird, like almost opera kind of sounding song.
God, I really like that song. Isn't it the cover? It's actually a cover song.
Is it?
Is it Perfect Government?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think it is that.
It's just like a weird little thing, but also it reminds me of Wolves in Wolves Clothing, the other song that Jefe sings that he sings in Spanish, and the words are like about, like, I couldn't think of any words, so I decided to sing these in Spanish.
That's so NOFX.
Yeah. So it's just kind of like, they just kind of like do these weird things. They think it's funny. On this record, I mean, they do it all the time, but there's so many parts on this record where I go, like, was this like, because that's their sense of humor. Where I go, I could see them doing that because they found that funny, you know. But it's like, again, it's like, it's not a terrible song, so I can't even say that, like, they're bad at playing on it. It's just not, like, what is this? Yep. It could just be thrown on, like, just something else. It didn't need to be here. Well, I mean, coming off of, like, Desperation's Gone, Eat the Meek, following up with, you know, these last 2 songs, it's like, it's fine, but it's not those songs.
Here's what I will give it. Here's something I wrote down. I will give it a positive before we move on. I think one thing it does give you is a chance to hear how good Fat Mike and Smelly can lock in with each other. It gives you a better chance to hear the rhythm section and a little more at, like, Mike's bass line, because Mike is a good bass player. Yep. Like, this record, there's a lot of really good moments he has. And best bass tone I think he's had on any record. I love the bass tone on this album. It's the right amount of, like, punchy where it cuts through, but also is layered in there in a way where, like, sometimes it's driving a song and you don't notice it on first listen. Yeah. But then you start listening back and you go, oh, like,
especially in K-Hole.
Yes. And also, like, you're just talking about on the Desperation's Gone with that bass line. I remember the chorus I was listening to and never noticed before, how good the it's driving it. Yep. The whole time he's driving it. I wonder if he can play that live, because that seems like a hard one to play and sing. Mm-hmm. Actually, you did it, didn't you? You said you covered it. Could you play bass and sing?
Yeah. Yeah.
But could Fat Mike do it? Could he
probably.
Pull it off?
Yeah, definitely. He probably can do it. He definitely can do it. Yeah.
Anything else for this amazing song?
No.
All right, let's move on. We got 2 left. Track 15, Court in Session. This song, you brought up, and I got to ask you, you brought up Franco Un-American earlier. I think this song legit just sounds like, and it came out before it, but this song sounds like Franco Un-American to me. The intro and even that melody, and Nothing Seems Much More Fun, whatever it is, I just butchered it.
Nothing Seems Much Fun Anymore to me.
Yes, that one. But he sings it just like Franco Un-American, like, he sings it just like the chorus.
You know what? You're right. I never noticed that, but I think that maybe you hit on a thing where he was like, he was rewriting Court in Session and not realizing it, and
I think
put
he
the
was.
lyrics to Franco Un-American to it. I think also, I feel like Franco Un-American is a turning point in NOFX.
That is them trying to have a single too. I feel like on that song.
I feel like Franco Un-American was him trying to do like, okay, well, I wrote all of these words before I wrote this song, and I need to make them all
I see what
fit.
you're saying.
And now it's like something that he does a lot, where it's like it doesn't matter.
The lyrics come first.
Yeah, it doesn't matter like what the song is. I'm gonna fit all of these just words that I decided that
You're
needed
on
to
something.
say.
You're on to something.
This song, I never noticed it on, but I definitely can see the
Play them back
comparisons.
to back, dude.
Yeah.
And here's the funny thing. I don't know that it's too much a slip up, because if you listen to the beginning of Franco Un-American, it goes into like that, like the guitar line or whatever comes after, because I listen to them back to back. I feel like they did it because it's the only thing that breaks them up enough where it gets your mind, because they sound similar for a minute in the beginning, but then that intro in Franco Un-American starts where it changes a little. And then it goes back to sounding like in the verses.
Yep.
But putting that there makes it just, you know what I'm saying? It makes it just different enough where I think they had to know that it was just a chord in session redone.
I think maybe at that point they were like, well, we've done a lot of stuff, so we're probably gonna rehash some of this stuff. In the same vein that It's My Job to Keep Punk Rock Elite is a abridged version of Linoleum. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we're kind of like going over the same stuff, but here's how we're going to evolve it and change it.
In his defense, too, you write the way you write. So eventually, including when you're a band that long, you're going to start without, like this one I think was on purpose, but like there are times where you probably rip yourself off without realizing it.
Yeah,
because that's just how you write.
Yep.
Like you don't realize that because you write melodies a certain way, or you do a certain kind of chord progression where eventually you're probably going to hit on again.
But that's why he always tries to go out of his way to like do chord progressions that are like 15 chords in a row with no like repeating notes.
That makes it easier not to rip yourself off.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That's a good way not to
After
not
like
to do
30 years you have to do that.
Yeah, you got to figure that
here's
out.
20 chords that never repeat.
They like I don't know, this song, I don't feel like it's anything super special. It's a fun song. It's not
mid-tempo.
It's mid-tempo. I think it works in its placement though too. I don't think it, like, I like where it's at. Like I do think it's a good one to go into the final song.
Yes.
Like it works where it's sitting at. But it's another one though too I wrote, for being a minute and 38 seconds, I can't believe how realized these songs are. Like again, I listened to this album not thinking of how short. You know who else was good at that? Mixtapes. Mixtapes would write songs where I would forget how short they were.
Yeah.
Because they actually would, a lot of them have like, it was a fully realized song, like structurally, but they basically just cut out filler, anything they didn't need. You know, if the intro should be 8 measures, it's only 4 measures. You know, kind of that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, and I think this is another song where I always forget how short it is. And that's to their credit. That a minute 38, I'm listening to it like it's a 3-minute song. Like, you know, I mean, that's not bad. And also, I mean, we're talking about being young and not having an attention span, but I still like a record that's like, when I look at that, like I'm telling you, like looking at the track time on this versus like Heavy Petting Zoo, I'm like, I would much rather the album with more songs and shorter.
Yeah.
I'm just into that. I just like that more.
You leave them wanting more than wanting less.
That's a good point. That is, because there's so many albums and stuff where I go, I don't need, like, I'm not a big intro guy. Some intros I like, but I don't like that big old build up. Like, you don't need a 3-minute long intro most of the time.
Yeah.
Very rarely do I like that. So I am with you there. I'd rather long for more than go, I don't need, like, this should have been over a minute ago.
Yeah.
There are, because you can do that. It's very easy to do that.
Yeah.
It is funny that this song, I mean, it's kind of making fun of sobriety in a way, but like it does, when you think of Pump Up the Volume, and again later on I think he talks more about, you know, he just gets more into drug use and alcohol abuse and stuff. It is kind of a funny song when you look at like what comes later.
I definitely like being sober now. I definitely like listen to this song differently than
This is probably one as
did.
you're older you understand it more.
Yeah.
Because you
Yeah.
got to think he's about 30 at this, so it's like it goes into that place where, I mean, there's still that youthfulness of NOFX, but it's like he's been around. You know what I mean? Like he's not as young as probably the people listening to this record.
Yeah.
So there are that sides of he still has that juvenile fun thing that he can. It's like Blink-182. You may not be 16, but you can still like lock into that. You know what I mean? You still, you can do that. You can still connect with what a 16-year-old connects with, which not everyone can do. So I mean, not particularly a bad thing, but still, you do have that side of you, like a 16-year-old versus you are 30, and again, you've seen shit, you know people, you know, where you start writing things like Dad's Bad News or a song like Chord in Session.
Right.
You know, like you're not thinking of these things at 16. You are getting drunk and doing stupid things.
Yeah.
It's like now you're like 30 and you're thinking about your life and maybe I do want to live longer than 40. Like things like that come into play, and you know, it is an interesting song again on an album that goes back and forth.
Yeah, I do think that this is kind of like tongue in cheek too.
Yeah,
you know.
Oh no, it's not even a pro sobriety song as much as it's kind of like life is boring now. Like, it goes back and forth.
And like who knows like what the stage even was that made him write this song.
I think he just wasn't drinking, because this is the start of pills and stuff for him.
Right. I don't even know, like it could have just been like he just didn't drink for 2 weeks and wrote this song and then like went back to drinking.
No,
you know?
that is exactly what I think it is. I don't think this was a big, because if you listen to him talk, he didn't get in. I mean, he drank and stuff, but he wasn't getting into pills and stuff until his 30s. So this is about age 30. This is him starting to dabble in that. So yeah, I think I could totally see this being a song written after not drinking for 2 weeks. Yeah. I could totally see that. But I like the song, but again, nothing. It might be another one where I think you could throw this on a couple NOFX records and it would still work. Like it's interchangeable. It's not a bad song, but it's not the defining. Like Eat the Meek would sound odd on Punk and Drublic. I don't think it would work on there. It works on the album it's on. This song, you kind of move around.
I think this one would fit on Punk and Drublic, but I also think it would fit on Heavy Petting Zoo too. I think
it would make Heavy Petting Zoo better. Actually, I would put this on Heavy Petting Zoo because it'd make me like Heavy Petting Zoo more.
I think the verses make me think Heavy Petting Zoo. I think the chorus makes me think Punk and Drublic.
Ooh, yeah.
I don't know what makes me.
No, I see what you're saying. That's why I like doing this. You make me think. It's like dissecting these things in ways I've never thought of before, but like you're absolutely right. But anything else for this one, or shall we move on to the final? This was a long record. This is 16 songs. Yeah. But does move faster than a lot of albums that are 16 songs.
It does.
Because most albums, when I see, including this was a time when bands would do long albums, a lot of them you lose interest about middle through, and sometimes it picks up at the end. Yep. This one actually keeps your attention, but it's also because they're short songs.
Right.
But song 16, Falling in Love, which is also a funny song title when you think of it. I guess funny. I don't know that it's funny, but it does work with the lyrical content. I think it's a good album closer. I think this does, again, like with sequencing and stuff, I think it fits perfect where it's at. It's not this is where albums are good. In the grand scheme of albums, I think it works great where it's at. In the grand scheme of NOFX songs, I don't think of it often.
I think that I think for me, this might be my favorite NOFX song.
Oh, damn, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I love every part of this song, and I think what makes it so good is the fact that it's so short.
Oh, it's extremely short.
And if you take that intro out, it's like
a minute something.
Yeah. So I think that's just what works for it. What it does well, it tells this story, this really heartfelt story, and literally there's like, two super short paragraphs. There's, I don't know if you could even call it a chorus. It's just Not Our Love repeated as the outro, but not really a chorus.
That's as close as you'll get a chorus for NOFX.
No solos. We're at song 16. There still hasn't been a guitar solo in this album yet.
Damn, dude. Well,
I don't know if you noticed that.
I didn't. I really didn't.
Yeah.
But you're totally right. What'd you say earlier? Embellishes. That's probably the best way to put it.
Embellishments.
There's
Yep.
embellishments throughout. There is riffage, but it's not there's not solos. That's a great point.
It took me 25 years to realize that.
Oh, so
I realized that
okay.
today.
Oh, okay. So you're not. So I'm not totally lost. This
No.
was okay.
No.
So that's why I love dissecting these. It's things you would never think of before. It's just, it's not, even Smelly's drumming on this one is what I was thinking about if he played a double kick pedal. Because this song particularly, he's doing like breakneck speed. And if you listen to that rhythm, he's like doubling his kick pedal.
And it's
insane.
It's so effective too, especially at the beginning of the song after the intro. It's drums, the bass, like just snarling over the drums and the vocals, and the guitars like feeding back and swelling, and then boom, come into this instrumental part where the guitars, if you're listening to it in headphones, they're kind of like working their way, like harmonizing with each other and kind of like walking around, and like whether you can call that a solo or not, like it's not really, it's more of like this harmonizing riff that's like accompanying the other guitar part, and this song just like does that really well, where it really shines on the two guitars playing off of each other, and the bass and the drum just kind of like keeping that backbone and keeping the song at that super fast pace. Then you have the second verse come in. You have these incredible harmonies kind of like accompanying it, and then this awesome outro where everybody's harmonizing, like the whole band is playing, and then it just kind of like ends on a major note.
Yeah, you're right, it does, doesn't it?
And just kind of like rings out into silence, like and in such a short time. It's literally just like two verses.
Well, you're right. If you took that outro out, you're looking at like, because I looked at it because I was trying to figure out, because there's that, the hidden like stuff at the end on the CD. It says it's like 5-something minutes or whatever, but it's really only like, I think it was like 2:03 or something like that. So
and that's like
long.
That's like a full minute intro too.
Yeah. So you take that out, that's a really, really short song.
And the intro is cool. It's like one of those like last track.
It's very much
like
a final. You wouldn't have that in the
things.
like middle of the album.
Yeah.
That track is very there.
You got like Fat Mike kind of like talking over the
I can't tell what he's
lo-fi.
saying, but yeah.
He's like, oh, the recording, it sounds like we're in the living room or something. No, it's perfect.
Yeah, it's like a high-pass filter. Is it a high-pass filter? It's one of those where it takes like all the low end out.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's coming through really tinny headphones almost.
Yep.
Like if you were walking by someone and you heard
And
them.
who knows, maybe it's not even a filter. Maybe that was just like somebody was recording something. Maybe somebody was like recording it like as they were recording like the actual version.
Yeah.
And they like picked like the lo-fi, like, unofficial kind of like cut.
See, I love that stuff because you really don't know if that was studio, like if they purposely like placed that in, or if that was like just a happy accident that like, oh, that was recording here, like we got that.
Yep. But I think it's really effective. I think that intro is like, it's like the perfect like 90s kind of like vibe. And then it like cuts into dun 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 digga 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 dun 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 dun. So like the whole band comes in and like it's like really triumphant.
I think it's like I love the change from there into the actual.
And then super fast song, and it's these heartbreaking lyrics, but it's like with this like really triumphant sounding like intro, and then like this really like major nice sounding like outro, like last note, like
it's almost and sorry to interrupt you, but like it's funny because we've been talking about like how there's not Fat Mike doesn't write happy endings and this and that, it's so funny because in a way he does this in the most demented of ways. Because it's
Yeah.
like, we're dying, but we love, you know what I mean?
Yep.
There is still that sense of hope. You're still together. Even when you're dying, the plane's going down, but we
Yeah.
have each other. And there is that hope. But again, there's hope, but they're dying in a plane crash.
I heard that at some point, like, this is before they got divorced, but Aaron couldn't listen to this song.
Oh, really?
His now ex-wife,
ex-wife.
Aaron, couldn't listen to this song because it was because of, like, I don't know, I guess the nature of the lyrics of the song. Because I think that it's probably like the most sincere song on this album.
Oh, very sincere.
And so I think, I don't think that there's any, like, irony in this song at all. And I think that, I guess if there was a song, if I was on an airplane with my wife and I had to write a song, this would probably be the one. You know what I mean? Like,
and you only have so much time too, and it's only like 8 lines. So
yeah, it's like
you're not going to write the decline.
It's like this piece of, like, happiness in an otherwise, like, horrible and chaotic.
He's finding the silver lining
Yeah.
of the end
Yeah.
of your, like, we can't do anything. There's no saving each other. Like, this
Yep.
is it. We can hold each other's hands
Yep.
and die in this fiery crash, basically.
and talk about, like, you know, like the poetic elements
It's
and
extremely
storytelling
poetic.
in this album. Like, this song definitely, like, hits it home in just a few short lines.
I think you brought this up on another episode. I think when it came out, because it came out like a year or two ago. But Frank Turner did this song on that split they did, where he just does an acoustic. Was it you I was
Yes.
talking about? And it's like, it shows you how poetic and storytelling the song is, because it's this chilling,
Yeah.
stripped down version where it's like, oh yeah, like, it's a fast punk song, but if you listen to, like, Fat Mike's lyrics and the chords to it, it's like,
Yep.
that's a poetic, like, no matter how you play it, it doesn't have to be a fast punk song.
Yep.
Like, that song has that, if anything, it gives it more, it makes it even heavier.
Yes,
Because you can't hide behind the
absolutely.
music. You
Yep.
can't. You have to. He forces you to pay attention to lyrics.
Yes.
You can't listen to, like, the drum beat and stuff and not think about what he's singing, because it's just him and acoustic guitar.
Right. And he kind of, like, gave it the treatment that the lyrics deserve, for sure.
Yeah.
I think it's almost like recreating a movie, like, using the same lines with, like, but, like, with a different director. Like, it's
I like that.
it's gonna have, like, this completely different feel, and you're gonna, like, notice all of these things that you never noticed before.
That
are,
makes
like,
sense.
nice about it.
And but the coolest thing is, like you're saying, it's not even like he's adding things so much as just pulling out what was already there. He's
Yes.
just doing it from a different. It's like a different
Yep.
perspective
Yep.
of the same thing. It's two people looking at the same painting, but seeing something different
Yep.
in it. You know what I mean?
That's what he does best.
It's yeah. I mean, this song again. It is a. It's not crazy because this is a good song but I didn't realize it was, like, your favorite. But it is.
Yeah.
It's something I thought about, which was funny because I looked up one. I don't think they play it live a lot, but I did look up one that they played recently of this song, and I think they were just off that night because it didn't sound very good.
Yeah.
But what I was thinking is this song would actually be a good set opener. I think that build up and everything, I honestly think it's not the first one you'd think about, but
Yeah.
I would lose my shit if they opened with this.
I
'Cause
would
it's
lose my
it's
shit
that
if they
build-
opened it.
But played right, because it's
Yeah.
funny, because I watched the video and it kind of squandered that at first, but I'm like, I watched and I'm like, I think they were just off that night. It
They're off
seemed
a
more,
lot of
it
nights.
seemed more them, and Mike's voice just didn't, I think his voice wasn't doing well. Like, it just wasn't it wasn't the best performance of it, but I truly think if they gave this song as much energy and, like, go out there and give it their all, that's a good album, or a good set opener.
This song is a hard one to sing. I used to play this song acoustic live. I never
nice.
like recorded a version of it, but I used to do a cover of this song, and I'd have my younger sister, like, do harmonies with me while I was, like, singing it.
Nice.
Because, like, that outro is like so effective with like those harmonies like layered in there. So but this one's a difficult one to sing live.
I'll give them some slack then.
That first note, for some reason, it's just like really hard to like cut in there and have it be like exactly where it needs to be. I don't know if it's because the intro kind of like throws it off, but
NOFX is a hard one to cover again because they do things their own way.
Yeah.
So it's like to approach it entirely like them, you just can't.
And you can't really fake his voice either. Like there's
That's the credit you got to give him. People are like, he can't sing, but it's like, you try it. Like, you try singing like him if he can't sing.
Yeah. There's some bands that like, I mean, for me, that I can, like, if I were playing a cover song
you could
live or doing
right?
like doing a karaoke version or something, I can emulate.
Yeah.
But not Fat Mike.
No.
And I've tried.
You
and
tried your
it's
damnedest.
It's not good. No.
I think a lot of people have. And you would almost sound like you're doing a parody of Fat Mike. That's what it would sound like.
Yeah.
There's a difference between being influenced and then just trying to full on like do, and it doesn't. That's probably why that Frank Turner one sounds so good, because it's not a punk band, which is funny because Rancid did a good job on that split they did with NOFX. There's some good songs on there, but is that a so-so?
Yeah.
But like, I do think it fits better when you're not in that, when you're in a whole different genre, because then almost the pressure's off in that way.
Yeah.
Because you're not you're trying to sound the opposite.
Right.
Of no, you know what I mean? He's not trying to sound like Fat Mike.
Yeah. No, I mean, and that's the thing, is like Frank Turner has like found his voice. You know,
yeah, that
what I mean?
dude
like
already knows his.
Yeah. For younger people, it's important to kind of like do it enough and do it long enough that you kind of like find that comfort zone.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that like helps younger bands who are either it's their first band or they're still kind of like strengthening those vocal cords, like touring and just doing it every single night and just kind of like blowing out your vocal cords and like doing it over and over again and just working on that consistency. It took me a long time to kind of like figure out like how to sing in a recording setting or like a studio setting, like it's
versus just live.
Yeah, just live it was just
you
like,
actually got to hit the notes in studio.
Yeah,
has to be somewhat accurate,
and like the music has to be like loud enough in your headphones, and then also like your vocals in the mix need to be loud enough in your headphones, and it has to like be as close as possible to like the way that you're hearing the song in a live setting. You know what I mean?
No, that makes sense.
It's like, it's kind of like difficult for younger musicians to kind of like find that voice of their own. I think that like,
that's all you got to find it though, because that's like NOFX. Like if you try, which I mean, you have your influences when you start out, but if you never go down that route of like, because really like if Fat Mike or NOFX listened to people and like, you should probably give up, this is awful.
Yeah.
But they kept going at it, and they keep like, sure, it didn't sound great at the beginning, but you keep working on it and you keep morphing it into something.
Yep.
You have to get there, because in the beginning you can get like, oh, I sound awful. Like you start getting weary and you might give up, or you might try to just rip someone else off. It's easier to try to emulate this guy. I
mean, like listen to the Flatliners, listen to Chris Cresswell like on their first couple of albums versus the way that like his solo stuff now and like how he sounds now.
Yeah, he's found his voice.
He's got this like silky vibrato in his voice, and like there was a Joey Cobra song that like came up on one of my playlists or whatever a couple days ago, and Chris Cresswell's doing backup vocals in there.
Oh, nice.
And it's just like just super smooth, just kind of like doing these little backup harmonies and stuff like that. And yeah, it's an example of somebody who like
he had to do it. He had to do that a while. It's not like you just wake up sounding like that.
Yep.
So. But anything else for this, or shall we close that up?
Let's close that chapter.
Do you have any closing remarks on the record?
Anything
we didn't get to?
No, I mean, really, I kind of touched on everything about like things that I noticed within the past couple days of like listening to it and like really trying to pay attention to what's happening versus like when you listen to something that you had been listening to since you were a child. Yeah. It's almost like looking at an old photograph where like you're not. You've experienced that, and it's been in part of your life for so long that when you look at that photograph, you're not actually looking at what is happening in the scene. You're reliving the memories.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, after 25 years, you got 25 years of memories attached to it.
Yeah, and so when you try to like objectively stand back and be like, okay, here's what's actually happening on this album, and versus like what you think is happening or like what you had attached to it. Like don't think about like, oh, here's all the different things that you were doing in your life as you were listening to those. Here's what's happening in your ears right now. Noticing that there's no really guitar solos in there.
Solos in this whole thing. Never noticed that until you brought it up.
Yeah.
All the credit goes to you. Never noticed that.
And realizing that I always thought that there was a big gap between the 90s NOFX and the 2000s NOFX, and feeling like starting with the decline and moving forward, NOFX was a different band than they were before. But really, all of the elements that led to them writing the decline, writing pump up the volume.
You hear it all on this one.
I can
you
hear
where
those,
they're going. You hear where they're.
Yeah, I can hear that direction that they're taking, in these kind of like some tangible, some intangible ways, you know?
I think that's why this is my favorite, because you have, like, there's part of the magic of earlier NOFX because they weren't experienced. There is that magic of, you know what I mean? Like, certain things are good because you don't know any better. Because you don't know. Like, I think even Fat Mike has said that he never realized Linoleum didn't have a chorus. I think he said that. It's things like that you don't think about.
Yep.
Those are those little things that make earlier NOFX magical.
Yeah.
But then there's also those elements of later, like Pump Up the Volume, the Decline, all that are also really good. This album has musicians who have done it for a while and kind of found their voice, but they're also still young. You know what I mean? They're like old enough to know, but still young enough to kind of make some of those mistakes.
Yep.
If that makes sense. And I think that is why I like this album the best, because it really is the best of both worlds.
Yep.
Of both those eras, one foot is in the punk and drublick, one foot's in Pump Up the Volume kind of thing. They're really, and it's 97, so you're getting towards the end of the decade, but you're still a little off. So it's like, it is funny too, because I feel like a lot of people, even me, I think about it, like people do separate NOFX from like 90s, 2000.
Yeah.
Because there are people who don't like them after a while, or don't think they're as good after a while, which I think is crazy. I think they started, like, I'm kind of with you. I think they keep getting better around that like 2000. But still, this album's funny because when you do start dissecting it, it's not that crazy, their jump. You do start seeing where they're going to go next.
Yep.
Like, it's all there. It's not this real left field, like the next album they sounded like Sonic Youth or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't do that to you. Like, you could, if you look back, you go, oh no, they're kind of showing you where they were going to go.
Uh-huh.
You know, it's not as like wild when you think of like where they go next.
Yeah. They had it going on this album, and I mean, it's definitely, in my opinion, like required listening if you're a NOFX fan, if you're a like 90s skate punk fan, if you're a 90s ska fan.
Oh yeah.
Like,
yeah, even if you're a ska fan, I would definitely say this album, you'll find things you like.
Yeah.
Whether or not you think they're kind of every now and then kind of smirking, I think you'll appreciate it.
Yep.
Because they're still so good at it. Even at times when they're kind of jokey, they're still so good at it that it's like, oh, you'll still appreciate this.
Yeah. And it just goes on to not only influence their later music, but influence thousands of other bands.
Some good, some bad.
Some good, some bad. But to this day, like, it still is, like, you know, one of those, like, completely untouchable, like, perfect albums that so many bands are you know, constantly trying to, like, look up to and live up to.
Oh, tons of albums that probably would have been made or at least sounded the way they did without this album.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, even from a production, because again, it sounds so good, but without being overproduced. Like, I mean, I think there are a lot of bands who wanted to sound like this.
Yes.
You know, just even from a sonic standpoint of how they wanted their album to sound, you know.
Absolutely.
But no, I love, again, my favorite NOFX record. The whole thing is good. I mean, again, even the songs, I got to give them that. Even the songs that I don't love, I wouldn't say, like, you know what I mean? Like, I won't skip them. I don't hate them. It still is a great, like, I would still probably say it's a perfect album. I don't know that I would change. I don't know what I'd change.
Yeah.
More pick slides. I did notice that. Not enough pick slides on there for me. You talk about solos, I don't think there's a pick slide until, is it the instrumental song? It's track 14 or 15 is the first pick slide that I hear on the album, unless I missed one. This album needs more pick slides. That's my one complaint.
Go put those in post.
I'm gonna go do one of those where, like, people, like, fix, like, albums they think sounded terrible and put, like, their mix on YouTube.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do the Anthony
It's
version.
It's 3 seconds long, and it's just a video of you pick sliding to a NOFX song.
I add it in there, and then also I'm so bad. Like, the pick slide is so loud and distorted, you can't hear it goes over it. But also I record it, and it just like it muffles the mic. Like, whatever I was using just sounds like overly distorted.
You got to start a YouTube channel that's just called "There I Fixed It."
All the things I think are wrong with albums.
Yeah, but it's like horribly mixed, horrible sounding, and the video's not even long enough. And then you don't cut out the part at the end where you reach towards the camera to, like, turn off the camera.
And there's so much distortion on my guitar. Like, anytime I take my hand off the neck, it's just.
And then you go, "There, I fixed it," and then you turn off the camera. And
it's like a digital camera from, like, 2008.
Yeah.
It's, like, really grainy.
Yeah.
Like, the video's like 180. It's just really, like, you can hardly tell it's a guy on a guitar. That's a $1 million idea, dude.
Yep.
I may have to do that. Well, we've been at it a long time. If you're listening to the radio show, we'll play the last song now. If you're not listening to the radio show, go listen to this whole record now. But yeah, dude, great doing this. I don't know. You want to tell people, and then we'll end it. Where they can find you, any of that good stuff?
Yeah, you can find my music, joeycobra.bandcamp.com. You can find my art at josephgrice.art.
Check it out. All right, that is it. I'll be back in a second after this song if you're listening to the radio show. And now we're done if you're listening to the podcast. But either way, thank you very much for listening to this whole thing. It was really fun, to tonight's episode of the Power Chord Hour. And also happy 25th to this record.